beer do you want?
Green Blue Moon.
Green Blue Moon?
The
That's
green
the mango
moon.
wheat.
Oh shit. I love me some mango.
I'm going to have Euphonia Pilsner. Hibike Euphonia Pilsner. Oh my god, it's the Comfycast.
Holy crap. When was the last time I recorded one of these? A year ago, right?
Probably something like that.
Did we do any in Boston?
We recorded one that we didn't release because it was only like 30 minutes that we recorded.
My weak ass.
Oh my god.
Don't look.
That's a good story to start with.
Alright, I don't even remember.
Okay. You all gotta understand that our plans when we moved into Boston were very, very different from when it ended up being the reality. I'm gonna turn up the recording volume here a little bit. Because when we moved in, you were planning to really launch yourself as a YouTuber at the time.
Yeah.
And we were planning to do a lot of stuff together.
My channel, like, immediately was up for monetization, and I was, like, really gung-ho. I had a couple of videos that I was, like, writing scripts for and working on.
Yeah.
It was going to be the year of the pantsuit.
You did write a couple scripts that never became videos.
Oh, yeah.
And then it became not timely anymore because it was a video about why we weren't going to watch Darling in the Franxx, I think.
It was just a video about Kim Kardashian dyeing her hair pink so she can be Darling in the Franxx.
Yeah, that was funny as fuck. It was a really hilarious short video, but sadly it never made it to editing. But neither did the Comfycast. So, like, when we had moved in, my intentions there were to build a whole lot of sets and stuff out of rooms, which is also my intention here and what I've been working towards.
We definitely have rooms set up.
Yeah.
Which is more than we can say from
Boston.
Well,
initially when we moved in, my whole plan, because we were going to do Comfycast every single week. That was going to be like the podcast.
Twice a week.
Twice a week?
Yeah, I had alarms on my phone for like when we were going to record.
Oh my god.
It's going to be a bi-weekly show.
You mean twice weekly? Bi-weekly would mean one every 2 weeks.
It's going to be a tri-weekly.
But my idea was we were going to build this big ass blanket fort. And like I had intended to make it like a fully fledged, like structurally integral blanket fort that would cover half the room. And I had built like a sort of mini version of it where we had stacked TV trays on top of each other to make two of the pillars. And then basically it was the blanket went behind the couch. Like it started behind the couch. And then I had two mic stands that were propped up in the middle to make it like tent up.
Yeah.
And then it went back behind two TV trays. And it was just like a couple of blankets that I had, put on top of each other. And that setup was there for like the first month or two that we lived there.
Yeah, I remember
pretty much until Tom moved in.
Yeah, to take it down for Tom.
So we had this thing set up, but the problem with it is that because it wasn't that big, like in order to have the camera fit inside with us, it had to be a pretty tight angle. So like, because my vision of it was that you were going to be able to see this enormous, adorable blanket utopia behind us, and it was all going to be lit with like string lights.
Yeah.
So we had, I think it was either the shell lights or some other lights that we had back there.
We had the shell ones.
Yeah.
And then we bought the paper ones later.
Right.
The paper
the
lantern.
origami lantern things. That might have been the ones then. But we bought these string lights and we had them along the back of the couch. And so, yeah, I just wanted it to be like the super comfy setting. But like the first recording we did was after I had only done like the basic, like rudimentary setup. And so all you could really see was the very top of the couch, the lights, and then like some blanket overhead. But it didn't look like we were in a blanket fort necessarily. It was just not that, it was not a good shot. And we tried to do a recording and we made it like 20 minutes in, but we just didn't have much to talk about and we got really tired. So we just stopped and I never released it. I never bothered editing. I think originally I thought we would just record a second part and like add them together, but we never did. And then basically after the traumatic events of July, you pretty much didn't want to be a YouTuber for a while. So,
yeah, I kind of wanted to, be low key about things.
Yeah.
Not try to get too excited.
But we've now you've been in videos all the time again. Pretty much ever since we started Up Finish or Fail again, you've been in like the most videos ever, I would say.
Yeah, I think I'm probably in more videos than, before.
Yeah. So here we are doing Comfycast again. And this is a very special episode because today is the 2-year anniversary of us meeting for the first time. So I want to ask, how does it feel to be 2 years deep?
I can't believe it's only been 2 years.
We've done a crazy amount of shit for 2 years. Like, more has been done in the last 2 years than had been done in the previous, 8 years of my life.
Yeah, definitely. So many changes, so many environments that we've been in, so many, obstacles we've had to overcome. It feels like we've known each other longer than 2 years because even your closest friends, you're not going to have so many interactions with them as somebody who you live with.
Yeah.
And,
and do everything with.
Yeah.
It's not just that we live together, because, a lot of people live together, but we do everything together. It's not just we share a house, we meet up after we've done our day, we both work from home in as much as you work for me, and we, we're always here, so we're always around, and anytime we leave the house we go together, to a point where there was a time recently where you weren't feeling so good and didn't want to cook dinner, so we were like, let's get something out. We were gonna order delivery, but there's a couple Chinese places that were right next to the house and you wanted Chinese, and I was like, I'll just go get the Chinese food. And you were like, well, I don't want to have to put on clothes or whatever to go do that.
Well, I felt really sick, but yeah, right. I didn't want to
and I was like, well,
go
you don't
and wait 15 minutes for Chinese food. Lo and behold, it did not take nearly that long.
No, but you were like, I don't want to go, and I was like, well, you don't have to go. I can just go by myself. And you were like, well, I don't want you to have to go alone. And I was like, I mean, you could wait in the car if you want, I guess. And you were like, oh, I don't want to do that. And I was like, well, it's no big deal. I'll just go by myself. But it's it had been a while since one of us had left the house by ourselves.
That's not entirely true, because I've been on a couple walks and stuff without you, but we do pretty much go everywhere together.
Yeah. It's just more fun than being by yourself.
I don't like shopping by myself, and I don't there's certain things that, maybe a walk, or I work out by myself and I tan and stuff.
But you do all that here.
Yeah, I do all of it here, but if I was tanning at a booth, I would probably
right. I mean, the most separated that we ever are is that I am asleep in one room and you are running in a different part of the house.
Yeah.
Or tanning outside, or I'm in here playing Uncharted and you're in the office playing The Sims, but we can still hear each other,
Yeah, we don't really do a lot of things separately, and when I was working, there were more things that we ended up doing separately. Back then I had my own vehicle. I didn't bring my car to Boston because I left it to my brother, and it isn't a car that you'd want to be in for more than an hour. But I haven't bought my own car just because I don't really need one.
Right.
It would have been kind of redundant to have one in Boston because most of the stuff that we did was pretty close by. In Virginia Beach, I do kind of want to get my own car, but there's no hurry on that.
If you ever wanted to have a more independent lifestyle, you would want to have a car.
I mean, I do see that possibly becoming a reality.
Yeah.
But
because when we first were living together, you were working and
I was going to college, so even though I was still doing that, I'd say we spent most of our time together.
Yes, when you weren't at work or at school, we were spending all our time together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just to me, there's nothing that I would have more fun doing by myself, and there's nobody else I'd rather spend time with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the only things I really do by myself are work. you know, and like I do it like we share an office, so like when I'm working writing a script or something, like you're often just right there next to me, like playing games or reading a book or something. Like it doesn't distract me to have you around, like especially because when I am working I am very single track mind.
Yeah, and
like
I
I'm
mean,
like
if it
undistractable.
became a problem that I was there, like I can't really work around other people, and if we
Hmm.
did need space, we could definitely accommodate each other. But like,
I mean, this house is big enough, like we kind of set up a room that will, the intention of it is to become a sort of atelier,
yeah,
like a workshop, and like I figured that would be more your space. When we first moved in it seemed like it would be that way, at least. Like
we need to furnish it a little bit more because
yeah.
there isn't really there's like a lot of storage stuff that's in that room that would be best served if it was on a bookcase or a
Yeah.
shelf. I'd like to get like a shelf set up and just have that to be a place where like I could do crafts or sew or literally do anything. But like my computer's in the office and
Yeah.
I spend a fair amount of time on my PC, so
Playing The
my
Sims.
makeshift
Playing The
PC.
Sims 4.
Yes, I've been very into The Sims. I bought the latest
Create
stuff pack.
just recreating the life we're already living.
Well, the idea was like I was really excited and I had a lot of energy from the momentum of putting the house together.
Right.
So like, you know, picking out drapes, picking out a couch that matched everything, setting everything up, and it's like, well, we've already bought everything.
Well, it's not even that we bought everything, it's that we bought everything we could afford to do in that time. Cuz like yeah, when we moved in, it was like everywhere we went, I was like, "Oh, there's something I want for the house. There's something I want for the house." But like just taking care of the necessities, like first of all, moving extremely expensive. Buying this couch was like $900. So that's already like a big, like, because we didn't have a couch. We left both of our couches behind because they sucked. Like that was the one thing I really wanted.
Yeah,
When
and
we
we
moved
were, you know, we were looking to buy a new couch. Like our previous
yeah,
couches have been hand-me-downs, and you can
right.
get a good couch for less than $100. And if you don't have the money to buy a sofa, don't get into a payment plan.
Oh no.
Don't waste your time. Just go to Goodwill or
Yeah.
any thrift store, and they have tons
I
of
mean,
options.
the couch, the previous two couches I had owned were both $30 each, and I had like refused to pay more than $30 for a couch. But like,
yeah.
they they were both two seaters that were old and they fell apart.
And we were
like,
looking for something very specific. Like
I wanted
we
something
wanted
big with a chaise lounge.
a chaise lounge.
With that was, you know, that wasn't gonna fall apart on me right away. And this
Something
couch
that
is
was
fucking
comfy.
great.
Yeah.
So comfy.
We spent a whole day looking around town for sofas.
Well, and the reason is because I didn't used to be a couch guy at all. Like, you know, my dad is a big sit on the couch and watch TV all day kind of guy, as I think most guys are.
Yeah.
Either a couch or a lazy boy is how most dudes do it. But like, I was a computer guy, so like I was always just in my room in a computer chair by myself. I like, if I came downstairs to sit on the couch with my parents, it was like because something was going on, or I was just extra bored. But usually I'd only come down like past midnight when my mom's like watching late night shows or something, like, and my dad's already gone to bed. I just don't really like to hang out on the couch that much until um like I was really hardcore binging lots of anime, and like it's just not that comfy to sit in a chair and watch anime. Like,
yeah. And our old couch was starting to fall apart.
yeah.
It was
Well, what I mean to say is this is before we even started dating. Like the couch that I had, the black one, like that was the first couch I bought for myself, and I just put it right behind my desk chair. So like it was just an anime viewing couch, and like I would only sit on it when watching anime or in the rare occasion I was playing video games. But then there was a point in Boston, because we had this couch that was another $30 couch from a thrift store, where when we did the finish or fail for 2018, we were just on the couch continuously for like a month and a half, watching shit nonstop. And I got really used to sitting there with a USB keyboard and just not getting back, like not getting up to go to my chair. Because it used to be I was very like, if I'm going to type, I'm sitting at a desk. I am not going to type from the couch. I am not going to use a USB keyboard. I need my nice keyboard up in front of the screen. You know, like, I lost that because we were just watching anime so constantly that I would just use the computer from the couch. And then when I got used to that, I couldn't stop. So I just didn't want to go. I didn't really want to sit in my chair anymore. And it was like, okay, well, now we've become total couch people. But the couch was also destroying my body because my chair is a nice chair that you can sit in for 12 hours before it hurts. The couch was not.
The couch is like a 30-year-old, older than us chair that has seen better days.
So like I was starting to have like real bad back problems and shit, and like my sides would always be aching because like it was digging into them. So yeah, that was why I was like, if we're gonna become couch people, we need to get a nice couch. And
we got one.
We did, and
no
it's
regrets.
Great.
And it's good to have the couch not be in the office, because it's like when we're in the work mode, we can go over there and do our thing, and then when we're in watching mode, like, we can watch it in here, we can watch YouTube videos and eat out here. It's just like, I think it's nice to have that kind of separation.
It was interesting because the first place we lived in, we ended up having everything in the office, and it was like we didn't leave the office, and that was like the thing that I disliked the most about living in that house, was that like we had never set anything up downstairs, and it's just because we don't watch TV. We only watch things through the internet, and like there was no way to easily get internet downstairs, and we didn't have a second TV, so it was just like because we lived in a split level townhouse, and like we just didn't use the living room basically at all. Huge living room. We just never spent any time in. It was a total waste
of space. Like, we didn't need that much space.
We had this big-ass living room.
I was only downstairs to, like, cook, and then there was, like, a bathroom down there.
And the kitchen was minuscule. And then
it was
a sliver of a kitchen.
Yeah, like, my ass could barely fit in the kitchen.
You could not fit two people lengthwise in the kitchen. And then you had the bedroom, and eventually I had set up a TV in there. And that was like where I would play video games sometimes, but it's like I just liked having everything in one room because I like to switch between things on the fly, you know. But like if it's in your own house, I mean, what's the difference? You walk across the house to go to a different room to do one thing versus another. But when we lived in Boston, we had a staircase, which makes it a pain, and the fact that it was freezing cold anywhere outside of the office. Because we didn't have any central heat. We had oil heat that we never used once because it costed too much. So we just had two heaters, like standalone heaters. One that was in the living room upstairs, which had become the de facto I Am Games room, and that was right next to where Tom's room was.
Tom would usually be in that room.
Yeah, he would often hang out in there because it was the only warmer room. And then we would hang out in the office because there was a heater down there, and the office was big, so it wasn't like a problem, but it was just like we would always be trapped in this one room. So like with this house, I really wanted us to have the sense that we're using the whole space. We actually watch stuff in the living room. Like, so yeah, like if we had just put the couch in the office, then we would never leave the office. But here it's like we have this great space that's really fun to watch stuff over in this room. And then, yeah, like you said, we can go into the work mindset in the office. I mean, that's how I think normal people do their thing, but, it just wasn't really something that made sense in the last two places we lived. And that's why it was so exciting to get this place and be like,
a lot of it
set it up
was
like a real house.
Because of the weather. Like, we had a little, like, indoor patio area that we, had
that
a
would
lot
have been
of
our
ideas.
hangout.
Yeah, because, like, we had a TV in there. It was great to host guests. It was great to, because like it has a lot of windows and stuff. You could smoke out there. You could drink out there. You could just chill.
We thought of it as the weed room, and like in the summer when we first moved in, because
it was the best room because it had so many windows. You can get a breeze.
And because when we first moved in, we didn't have any seating yet. Mm-hmm. So like before we had set up the couches and everything, there was just like they had left us a couple of these like outdoor couches because it was basically like a covered patio room. Like it was a room, but it felt like you were out on a patio, and it had like it was like every single amount of wall was a window.
Yeah, I think because they used to have a pool, it would have just been like a little.
Yeah, it was
like,
definitely like annexed onto the house.
Yeah.
And it had this like little nook in the wall that they had put like this Chinese painting in front of, but you could slide it, and we put all our weed shit in there. So at first we would hang out there in the summer and smoke pot, but then as soon as it got cold outside, it was impossible to keep the room heated.
Yeah, because it had like stone
Yeah.
interior, and it just was the coldest room in the house. And it was like, well, this just makes our house feel even smaller. This is kind of lame.
We're cut off from half our rooms because it's too fucking cold.
Even if we had the heat running, I feel like that room would still be like unusable in the winter months.
Yeah. It also sucked having to go all the way between the office and the bedroom. And like I had tried to set up like stuff in every room, like compute, because like Tom had left us with all these fucking computers because he had like 6 computers that he had bought en masse that are just like pretty. They're not like particularly strong, but they can play like 90s FPS games.
Yeah, they're just like computers that you'd find in your high school library.
Yeah.
That were
And he had bought
like
them all
5 years out of date
to do LAN parties with his friends. And like they all have like every single one of them has like Doom, Quake, and Halo on them. And they did like one LAN party ever and then never again. So like he had brought them all to our place. And I tried to put a computer in every single room of the house, but the house had so many electrical issues that like there was a brief period where the one in the kitchen was really glorious because we would watch just watch YouTube videos while you made dinner. But then like the power outlet started surging or whatever, and the fucking computer didn't work anymore. And then the one in the bedroom would never work correctly for some reason. So it was just like, there was a lot of ways that I wanted to turn the house into a really cool place, but just it had so many fucking issues with just being cold and the power outlets not working correctly and all that. And, that's why we tried to get out of there ASAP, because we were just like, I want to live in a place I can do something with.
Yeah.
Like, I have so many ideas.
When you decide you don't really want to be in a place anymore, it's kind of hard to want to set things up further.
Right.
Well,
like, and
I was always
to tear it all down,
in college. There'd always be people who like would set up their dorms crazy, like they would like spend like a week setting it up. But this is a temporary like place. I never had the energy to like hang shit up.
It would be one thing if you did it all right when you moved in.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm gonna be here for 8 months, right when I move in, get everything set up, live the comfiest life possible, take it all down. But like if you're just gradually building on it over time, it feels like you're building to nothing because you're leaving.
Yeah, and I'm kind of more of the person who wants to find things and bring them in. I don't really have an idea how to set up a space beforehand. Same. But you'd live with roommates who day one would have like pictures all over the wall, like everything would be set up, everything looked cool. They'd have like all their shit, and mine was just always bare bones. Like maybe I'd have like a calendar up and that's it.
I mean, I think a lot of people,
like you that person's happier because they're in a space that like they feel is their own. I just like was always envious of that.
I think a lot of people just have a particular aesthetic that they chase.
Yeah.
Like when you think about like middle-aged ladies who are like really into home decor, it's usually like they see a particular room setup in a catalog and they want to recreate that setup. It's like, I need to get that couch, that drapes, that like all those things. And for me, it's always been about like making a custom experience that's like just everything in this room is something I like,
Yeah.
And so like there's some level of just the literal drapes that we have are just like, well, okay, we know we're getting a gray couch, so let's get some gray curtains, because I've never seen a spectacular curtain that I wanted before, like that's not something that I know of existing. If we somehow stumbled upon a curtain that somehow was so specifically interesting, although in the last place we were using my tapestries as curtains pretty much, but in the office at least. But yeah, they didn't function well.
No.
So like there's some allowance for just buying generic things because they fill out the space and you need them, but like for the most part it's like if I'm going to put something in my house, it's going to be because I thought it specifically looked cool and it went with some room in the house, you know.
Yeah, I mean the particular curtains that we bought just like go really well with the color scheme that we have, because it's kind of like the decorations and the wall art and the figures.
I can't tell if you can see it. Can you?
No, you can't.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can.
Right where I'm pointing. That's
All
the
right.
curtains right there.
Just that like there's so many
Zen
other
Huxtable's,
colors.
Drawing of Mamimi.
It's pretty sick. There. I'm glad you have that print.
Yeah, I totally forgot. He brought it to me, I think the second time we did acid together.
Yeah.
But he brought it to me in a tube. So, like, I had just looked at it and put it back in the tube and forgotten about it completely by morning. And then, like, as I was going through my posters, I just found this tube and I was like, what the fuck? I've got a Zen Huxtable original in here. So, you know, not that it's the actual painting or anything. It's a digital drawing that he printed out.
Yeah, but still, it's sick.
You can tell it's like it's kind of aliased because I think it was probably drawn in, like, like paint or something. It's hard to say. But yeah, it's a gorgeous picture of Mamimi, my favorite Fooly Cooly character, as you know. This house is fucking lit.
I love everything about it. I love that it's a 1-story house.
Yes, we definitely did not want another 2-story because it's a pain in the ass. Like, I don't even mind, like, going up and down stairs. It's just like, why would you?
Yeah, we don't need that much space.
Why would you do it?
It's, like, we really just need a kitchen, a living room, a bedroom, and an office, and we have more room than that.
It's so much more pleasant to be able to stumble across your house in a second.
Yeah, and it just, like, makes you feel connected.
I also don't fall down the stairs when I don't have any stairs because I am prone to slipping and.
Yeah, and if you want to get a drink, you don't have to go all the way downstairs to the kitchen.
Right, dude, because it used to be like we'd be going to bed and then it'd be like, oh shit, I forgot to get water to drink in bed. Let's walk all the way back down and back up.
Then you have to put on 2 layers of clothes because the kitchen is like freezing cold by now.
Oh god, that's true. Yeah, thank God for central air.
Which would have been the case anyways if we had the heat on. Like, I'm sure we wouldn't put the heat on super high at night because it gets really hot.
Fuck Boston.
Yeah, it was just.
Right.
I'm really glad that we've moved.
All right, let's go ahead and knock this out of the way. The biggest complaint about living here.
Yes.
What's yours?
Probably not having people. Like, even in Boston, we had Tom, we had Ben, we had Zen. Kazi lived not too far away.
Yeah.
And, like, even though we didn't do things consistently, like, every weekend with those people, it's just, you know, it's nice to have friends that I can hang out with, but, like, your family's here, so.
Yeah, Vic and Hope
are
Shade
cool,
and Amber.
and Shade and Amber, but, like, we haven't really done anything with them since.
I mean, all my old friends are here. I just haven't contacted any of them.
I don't know them. Like,
my cousin Boyd is here.
I felt like I had a sense of community in Boston. Which is weird because, like, I feel more at home here.
Yeah, it's weird because we never did anything with anybody.
No,
like,
we did.
We hung out with them, like, 6 times total in the, like, 8 months we lived there.
But, like, they lived on opposite sides of, like, the city and
once
stuff.
A month.
I guess so.
I never felt like we were doing anything with them at all.
11 o'clock.
But,
Where are they? Oh, they're right here.
Anyway, my biggest complaint about living here is bugs.
Yeah.
Hella bugs. It was like remembering. Like, I came back and I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of bugs in Virginia Beach.
I don't really have that much of a problem with the bugs that we've seen so far. Like, yeah, sure, some of them have been a little bit gross, but, like, it's mainly gnats and mosquitoes and, like, and some spiders, but, like, I haven't been offended by the amount of bugs, and, like, our old place has so many fucking spiders.
Yeah, I don't mind spiders so much.
I do, because they bite you.
It's true. It's just that there's a lot of bugs. It's just that, like, if you open a door, you gotta be ready for the fact that a bug might come into your house.
Yeah, that was the same problem we had, when we lived in Rochester.
Yes, because we lived near a lake.
And it's really weird because, like, certain places it's not a problem at all, but, like, the closer you get to the water, the worse it gets.
Which is weird because we're not really close to, like, a huge body of water.
No, but I mean we are in the South.
Right.
Like,
it's just a buggy city.
Yeah.
I learned a piece of advice I have for anybody is if you're talking to a real estate agent, if you ask them a question about like if this place has X and they say, well, every place has X, they mean absolutely a ton. And I know this because we got it twice. The first was when we were looking at a house. Press a button.
Yeah. I just got paranoid.
Yeah. Oh, the camera also stopped.
When?
30 minutes.
When did it stop?
Just now.
Okay.
Anyway, there's this road called Aragona that was where my high school was in Virginia Beach. And I happen to know that it's not a dangerous neighborhood, but it's not the safest neighborhood. Like, I mean, it's not somewhere you expect to get shot, but you might get robbed. Like, yeah. And, like, I knew lots of kids who lived on that road who were all, like, stoners or drug addicts and stuff like that. So, I had asked the woman who was, touring us around, I was like, so is there a lot of crime out here? And she was kind of like, well, I mean, everywhere has teenagers. And I'm like, okay, so yes, there's definitely, you can expect to potentially get robbed, is what she's trying to tell me. When we looked at this place, the realtor, I said, is there crime around here? And she's like, oh, no, there's no crime. So if everywhere has teenagers, then how is it that another place has no crime? Which, when you look at the crime index, is correct. But I said, are there, like, a lot of bugs out here? Now, when I had asked the woman on Aragona, she was like, well, I mean, maybe sometimes, but, like, we have exterminators that we call in and stuff. Like, it's no big deal. This lady goes, well, it's Virginia Beach. Everywhere has bugs. It's like, in other words, yes. But I was like, well, we're not really close to any major, like, we're not, close to a huge lake or anything, so maybe we won't have bugs. I was wrong to think so. There's definitely bugs. But, I mean, this is not a huge complaint.
No,
kind of my point is that's the biggest complaint I have.
Get in are just, like, mosquitoes and, like, mosquito eaters or just, like, moths and stuff. Spiders. But, like, they don't really stay in because, you get them immediately.
There are roaches here, though.
Not in our house.
Not in it, but circling it, trying to get in.
Yeah.
Hoping, waiting for an opportunity.
I don't know. The fact that we haven't seen any in the house, like, when we first moved in, Did you
see one in the garage?
It had crawled into the garage when I opened the garage.
Okay. Still, they're trying to get in. They're circling.
I mean,
it was probably out by the trash.
Yeah, it was. Like, it was when I was taking the trash out. A roach was, like, I didn't see it entirely, but I'm pretty sure it just crawled in.
I'm just saying.
And I've been on the lookout literally since then and haven't seen any evidence of it. Well, that's the thing.
It puts you, when you know that there's bugs, it puts you on edge because you know that you're gonna see one eventually.
Yeah. I'm not that afraid of them.
It's not about the fear. It's
I know, but
it's just like, oh, great.
But to me, like, bugs are whatever. I can deal with a moderate amount of bugs. I wouldn't even say it's the worst part about living here because, like, there might be some bugs. Well, but there's some interesting crap here.
What is the worst thing if not the bugs?
I said, like, being far away from friends and family. Oh. Like,
I don't care about that.
I don't really feel like I have a network here.
Yeah.
Like, at least in Boston, if, like, at least you could pretend that, like, oh, your other friends are going to come here. But we have Vic and
Shane. They're way more of a network than my other friends.
I don't know. We don't do anything
with them. They can't abandon you.
No, it's true. It's true. And Vic was very nice, and he came here, and he helped us set up and stuff.
Yeah.
I am further away from my family, though, and...
barely.
Well, like...
What's the difference between a 6 and a 10-hour drive? Either way, you're driving all day.
My dad would frequently come to visit us in Boston because he...
I wouldn't say frequently. He came like 3 times.
In a year. That's a lot.
It's just because he works there.
Yeah, exactly, because he comes up for work and stuff. So it's not like... If something did happen, I know my family could be there for me in a heartbeat, which did happen. And here it's
a long heartbeat, but yes.
I mean, it was as quick as I noticed.
Right. Well, it would have been as quick as you noticed if it had been here, too.
You think so?
Yeah, the difference between 6 and 10 hours is 4 hours.
Yeah. I don't know. I do think 4 hours is a lot.
So is 6 hours.
It's just like a job, like a drive somebody would be willing to make.
To me, it's like almost no difference. Like 6-10. What if you're driving for more than 4 hours?
I don't know.
It's all day.
It's not really like a complaint that I have. It's just like that was something like I knew Boston because I had been there as a kid.
Yeah.
Like it was a place that we'd go for vacation and stuff, so it didn't feel so far away. But I'm in like the South. Like,
it
I'm
also
in a
was like the
completely
same temperature and like same
yeah.
general atmosphere.
Yeah.
Down here feels like you're in a tropical fucking paradise compared to there.
It's really interesting because like the elevation here is very close to ground level or like water level, whatever it is. Speaking of bugs, that was a mosquito. Maybe that is the worst part about living here. But like when we came down to look for houses, I tried to go out running on like the park and stuff, but because the atmosphere is like it's different, it was difficult for me to like breathe. It like felt like I was like breathing in like the air wrong, and it was like really heavy. But apparently like when you are trying to adjust to different elevations, like it can impact your stamina, it can impact how you run and stuff. So I just thought that was like really interesting that I had an experience with that, and it like was something that impacted my life. Because like, you know, if I go on a 3-mile run and I can only run for 10 minutes because my lungs are fucking bleeding and gasping for air when I try to. Yeah. But I've been here for a while. I think I've adjusted.
Yeah, we've been on a lot of walks.
Yeah.
God, how nice is it that we can walk like every day? Because it's really always beautiful. Nice enough.
It's great.
There hasn't been a single day that we've been like, yeah, it's kind of a snowy, frozen, fucking apocalypse out there. Maybe let's not go for a walk.
It snowed for Mother's Day in Boston. Like, it was still snowing like a week ago in Rochester. So it's nice to be in like 90-degree weather.
Yeah, it was like 90 the other day.
It's supposed to be 90 tomorrow.
Incredible.
It's nice. Like, there is a little bit of humidity, but it doesn't bother me at all.
It hasn't gotten bad yet. It will in the summer.
Yeah, I know.
In July, there will be days that you won't want to go outside. I've been here in August,
but make the most of it while it lasts. And I feel like most of the year is times you're going to want to be outside.
I mean, because even in the dead of winter here, it's like typically 50 to 60, you know? Like, it's maybe 40, but like if you go outside and it's 20 degrees, that only happens a few times a year.
Okay,
you know?
The worst thing here is definitely the storms.
There has been a lot of storms. Well, it's odd because my mom insists that it's been just raining nonstop in Virginia. That like, because, so all right, let me preface this a little bit. Let me tell a little bit of a story. So my mom found her real dad. This happened around when we started dating, like a couple months later. I'm sure we've told the story somewhere.
Probably in a Comfycast.
Very well possible. And he was in LA. So they flew him out to Virginia, and he kind of ended up stuck there because he was just there to visit when we came and we met him. But right after that, he had like a stroke or something and had to be hospitalized. And it memory wiped him meeting me. So that was why they wanted us to come back out to LA again, because he literally couldn't remember me or you. So like he had to stay in Virginia with them for a little while, and they were kind of like trying to get him to move in with them. They were like, just come on, just move out here. And he was like, the weather out here is fucking terrible. Because in California, the weather is always perfect. It doesn't rain. It's always beautiful. It's always hot and sunny, and it's not humid usually. So like, it's just perfect weather in LA, which is why people move there.
Yeah.
And why he lives there.
The weather was
It was phenomenal. We went there in March, and like we literally left the snow.
I couldn't even imagine
go to 70-degree
living
weather.
in a place that was so nice, because I'm a masochist. I want some divine punishment.
Well, it's like, how do you know? How do you figure out the difference between a day when you stay in and a day when you go out? If every day is no, it would be fantastic to live in a place with weather like that. I would love it.
Yeah, but count your blessings. I'm happy that I could spend time outside.
Sure.
And it isn't June, you know.
Sure. I'm not complaining. Just saying, it would be great. It would be fantastic, and I'm not going to lie to myself and pretend it wouldn't be.
Yeah, no, I know.
But anyway, he was like, fuck this place, the weather sucks. So they moved out to LA to live in his place. Well, it's when we came to visit and we were telling our parents, my parents, that like we're planning to move to Virginia Beach. My mom was all like, "Oh, it rains there constantly now. It's become like Florida." It's just because we lived in Pensacola, Florida, in the Panhandle, and it does rain there almost every day in the summer. So they were like, "Oh yeah, it's fucking miserable. It rains all the time." And I'm like, "This sounds like you guys convinced yourself of that because your dad complained about the weather and you moved out here." But like the funny thing about it is that they were saying all this while California itself was in the middle of record-breaking rainfalls for the year, where like this apparently like just in the first 3 months of the year it had rained more than usually it does in an entire year.
Yeah, meanwhile here the
hasn't rained.
Rain has been on average.
Yeah.
Like, I was reading through the paper, and, you know, the interesting statistic is, like, on weekends specifically,
that's
been more likely
that's the
to
funny
rain.
thing. It's just that it's somehow, by pure coincidence, it's been raining on weekends a lot, and for most people, that will make it feel like it's raining all the time, because they only do things on weekends. For me, makes no difference whatsoever. So
if it
like,
rains once a week and it's on Saturday, who gives a
shit?
Who gives a flip?
So like, so we've been living here and like it hasn't rained any more than I've been used to than what I grew up with. Like, I'll say it rains more here than it does in Boston, but it also doesn't snow here. It snows maybe 1 or 2 days a year in Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
But like, I don't mind the amount of rain, but it is true that almost every time it has rained, it has been a storm.
Yeah, like there's been 2 tornado warnings.
There has not once been just a rain. It has every single time been like wind and crazy rain and lightning and fucking like torrential downpour, but they also don't last that long.
No.
Like it usually just passes over in like an hour or two. There's never been a day that it was raining all day since we moved here. So yeah, I would say the rain is not even worth complaining about. I mean, half the time I fucking sleep through it. I just wake up, oh my god, did it rain today?
It's nice when it's raining at night, 'cause I like the sound of rain.
Yeah.
The pitter-patter.
I just don't like, I get low pressure headaches pretty much anytime rain comes through, but that happens everywhere. So I don't think it's been an exceptional amount of rain. It just seems like what I grew up with.
Well, I mean, statistics-wise, it is completely average.
Yeah. It's pretty hilarious because my mom was trying to blame it on climate change, and I was just like, what are you talking about? Since when does climate change make it rain more? Like, you can't just blame every random fucking weather trend you've noticed on climate change. And people always, I forgot I was going to go into this on Whirling Dervish. This might not be a comfy discussion, but like, just, it's been said many times, observed by many people, that everyone will make assumptions about if spring comes a little bit later one year than you're used to, everybody wants to be like, oh, the times they are a-changin'. But the reality is that if you look at it on like a long enough historical timeline, it's always been like, there's not a consistent cycle. There never has been. It's always been shifting,
which makes it really difficult to kind of like really gauge the impact of climate change, and makes it kind of difficult to,
I mean, I'm sure there are certain things that are clear, that are like definitive changes, but like people will literally just observe any random thing and go like, oh, must be climate change because it rained more this year than last year. And it's like, sometimes it just rains more in a year.
All of that's going to be sensationalized.
Right.
Like every instance of that is going to be turned into the world is going to end in 30 years because of yada, yada, yada. And it's just like growing up in a world where you're constantly bombarded with headlines like that.
And then getting old enough to see that none of it has come true. So
yeah,
you're like,
it
well,
definitely,
okay.
you know, adds to the kind of skepticism about certain information that's out there. But
I remember a TED Talk that I watched like 11 years ago where a guy was saying that in 5 to 10 years we would all have to be eating bugs because we were going to run out of
Wasn't
meat.
that like a 4chan meme, like eating bugs?
I don't know, but like, because I mean, there's a lot of countries where they do eat bugs, and like bugs are a viable source of protein, but like this guy was insisting that we were going to have to do it because eating the meats we do was unsustainable on like a 5 to 10 year basis.
Interesting.
And it's like
enough,
not even close.
Red food dye. I don't know if all red food dyes are made this way anymore, but like are traditionally made out of crushed beetles. So if you eat any red kind of candies, you have already been eating bugs.
I mean, I've said before that if you put anything in the form of a convincing burger, I will eat it. Like, I don't care what it is. I care how it looks. It's all optics, because that's where you psych yourself out.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, if you put it in like, if it looks good, if it looks edible and appetizing, then I'll go, okay, yeah, I mean, that looks delicious. But if you hand me a fucking grilled cricket, I'm not going to eat it, you know?
What about chocolate-covered
cricket? No, I'm not going to eat anything shaped like a cricket. They look disgusting. I just saw a cricket on the back porch yesterday, and I was like, people eat those. That's disgusting.
I'd be willing to, as long as I didn't have to, like, see its eyes or anything.
I mean, it's the legs that make them look gross.
Or if it was, like, money was presented to me, I'd probably eat almost anything.
Nah, I want it to be... I mean, again, just mash them up into a paste and put it into a fucking burger.
That's what they do with red food coloring.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. I like nothing. Knowing that hasn't stopped me from eating it.
No, me neither. It's just
like my mom used to always go around like trying to tell people, oh, you know, if you're eating Jell-O, it's ground up hooves, and it's like,
who cares?
All right, looks and tastes like Jell-O to me.
Yeah.
You know, like it could be whatever it wants to be. It could be fucking baby. What's the shit? The baby foreskins, Korean baby foreskins.
Oh, like the face creams and stuff that they'd use.
Injecting Korean baby foreskins into their faces. Look it up. As Alex Jones would say, look it up.
It's been declassified.
It has been more than declassified. It's in the common
It's in the common literature.
Yeah. You can find that in the mainstream literature. That's what he says.
Mainstream literature.
Oh my god.
Oh jeez.
So,
the world has changed a lot in these 2 years we've been dating.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
What's changed?
Well, we started dating at the start of Trump's election. And now
like
we've
6 months in.
Yeah. We've moved into, towards the back end of the election. And we're starting...
You mean term.
Yeah, his first term in office.
Mm-hmm.
His first. Folks, I'm saying it right here.
It's looking that way to me.
I'm very interested in watching who the Democrats do pick as their nominee, and I'm excited for the debate.
We can't talk about politics on the Comfycast.
I think it's comfy. I think watching debates is comfy.
No.
You don't think so?
No, it's infuriating. Watching debates is the most aggravating, boring, shitty thing in the world to me.
I think it's comfy because it will put you to sleep.
It won't put me to sleep because I'll just walk away. I can't sit through it.
But there's been some new things in the world. The Switch has become more popular.
Yeah, the Switch sure has.
Vic Mignogna, how about that fella?
Yeah, nothing's different about him as far as I know. Nothing's changed in my understanding of his situation.
Indeed. Can you think of anything that has changed in the world in the past 2 years? I think the food delivery has become, more prominent. Every single place now is Grubhub.
That's true.
We started dating. There was only one place that did Grubhub in our place in Rochester, and it was Wimpy's. Mm-hmm. We've moved. It seems like every single place is doing Grubhub.
That's true. I don't know if that's a huge world-shifting change, but
for neats like us, it is.
Food delivery.
Not that we use it that much.
No, because I like leaving the house.
Yeah.
Dude. It's really funny. I am definitely not at all a hikikomori. I'm just antisocial.
Yes.
Because I take every excuse to leave the house. And I've been this way for a long time. Like, even back, say, 2016, when people knew me as the guy who's just losing his mind in his bedroom, I left the house at least once a day, if not twice. But I just would go out by myself and just go eat something and come home. Like, I would go to restaurants all the time. Like, I'd go out to a Thai place, or go out to Schlotsky's, or go to fucking Barnes & Noble, go get a sub, bring it home. Like, I found every excuse because I just like to have things to break up the monotony of what I'm doing. Like, if I do the same thing for like 3 or 4 hours, I just feel like, oh God, I gotta shake this up, you know?
So, question. You went out of your house often, by yourself. How many times were you cold approached by strangers? 0? Because, like, we'll go out and, like, somebody might say something about your shirt, or might...
Is that a cold approach?
Yeah.
Okay, well, people complimented my pants all the fucking time.
Yeah. So
they didn't, like, come up to me and say it. It'd be like, yo, nice pants.
Did you ever have people try to make conversation with you?
No.
Because, you know, when I would go out by myself...
You're a hot girl.
It makes me feel uncomfortable. You live in a totally different world. Because I'm not always, like, expecting to be approached. Or, and, like, sometimes it's like, oh, well, I appreciate that you've taken time to speak to me, but I've never continued to talk to somebody that I met, you know, just like who had complimented me or who had tried to talk to me on the street. Like, if I make friends with somebody, it's because we have a similar situation or are interested in a similar thing. It's usually not because, like, a guy is like, oh, hey, you're cute, and it's usually like, well, I didn't go out to be harassed.
That's how, I mean, you've seen the way that when people out try to talk to me, I, like, don't look them in the face at all. Like, I don't even look at them. Like, somebody will say something to me, and I'll just kind of, like, glance, like, in acknowledgement, but, like, I won't even look at them. I'll just say, oh, yeah, you know, and then just, like, try to give the most minimal answers possible until the exchange is over. Because, like, I really don't like to be interrupted in the middle of what I'm doing. Like, because it's like a whole different mindset, you know? It's like when I'm out, I'm very task-minded, you know?
Yeah, me too. It's like, well, I'm out to get a coffee. I'm out to shop for a pair of shoes.
And, like, I'm not considering the fact that anybody else is there.
Yeah.
You know, like, they are just people who are also doing a thing.
They are doing a task.
That just happens to be at the same place as me, but we're not doing it together, you know?
Yeah.
You are here doing it, I'm here doing it, but there's no connection beyond that, you know? So, like, if you try to talk to me, it's like you're pulling me out, and I'm like, what? What are you saying? Like, anytime somebody compliments my shirt or my pants, I always have to look down. That's always my first reaction.
It's just like, what am I wearing?
Yeah, it's always like, oh, nice shirt, and I go, thanks. The fuck, you know, like.
You like this? You gotta buy it for me?
The funniest is when I get complimented on my Gintama shirt, because they always think it's a Bleach shirt.
Yeah, like, is that Ichigo from Bleach?
Yeah.
It's like, you are brainlit.
Does this look like Ichigo, I mean, it is a parody of Bleach, so...
Yeah.
It's understandable.
It's just funny as fuck.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Like, when I am out, I am, you know, occasionally I will compliment or say something to somebody, but, like, I'm never out looking to make connections. Unless I'm at a function. Like, if I'm just, like, out and about, I'm not gonna, like, go out of my way to try to meet somebody who I don't know. Like, I've never had a positive experience from that.
Me neither.
Yeah, like, the only times I've ever made friends were from a club, from school, from, like, a class that I've taken with somebody.
I mean, I won't say never. I've had positive experiences at conventions.
Yeah, but do you ever, like, keep that person's, like, number in your phone and become friends after that? Because, like, I wish that seemed possible. Very
minimal, like, there were a couple of brothers who were fans of me who I met at BronyCon, and when me and Victor, like, left Vivek and Shade left that room because of the whole crazy shit that went down, those guys put us up in their room for free. And so I got their contacts, and I hung out with them at the next BronyCon, but, like, we never really talked for more than, like, a few minutes outside of that online, you know? And I haven't talked to them since. But, like, you know me, I don't talk to anybody. Like, you say, like, did you ever make friends? Do I even have friends?
Yeah, but I mean...
When was the last time you saw me talk to literally anyone in any context?
I can say likewise for myself, too. Like...
You talk to Michelle sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you talk to Nate sometimes.
When?
On the PCP.
Yeah, if we're on the show.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I talk to anybody, like, regularly at all. like just a normal, like, casual, hey man, what's going on? Like, how's your day?
Yeah, but I do think a lot of people go out with that kind of mindset where
they do.
Yeah, and I think that's
my
great.
friend Marcus is that type of guy who can just make friends with people anywhere.
But it's hard for me to kind of put myself in a situation where I feel approachable and want to, you know, make friends with people, because usually I'm just looking out for myself. And growing up, like, nobody paid attention to me until I started to, like, sexually develop. And then I got a ton of unwanted attention. And there were consequences for, like, if you hung out with a guy, he might be trying to take advantage of you. And, like, once you've had that happen a couple of times, you become wary.
Yeah,
and like,
as well you should.
Yeah, and if a guy, like, is going to come up to you and approach you, it's kind of like, I'm not interested in having a friendship or whatever you're offering. Like, just leave me alone.
Yeah.
And I've never really had, like, girls try to talk to me. Like, the most that I would get is, like, I like your bag. And I would do that to people, too, if I saw somebody who had some, like, I wanted to compliment. But, like, it's either me or it's just, like, they just wanted to say something because they wanted to be social. But, like, nothing has ever evolved from that.
No.
And I don't know, like, maybe if I was in more social situations like that, I would learn a way to kind of branch out from that to what could be a friendship. But, like, I don't really see that as an opportunity to kind of, like, to do more. Because I'm kind of introverted and I'm kind of shy, and I've just, like, you know, where do you go from that? Like, I've complimented you, you've complimented me.
Kinda. You should have said extremely introverted and extremely shy.
It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Because if I'm, like...
And how much alcohol there is available.
Definitely because I am super outgoing when I'm drunk. But, like, there are situations where I'm more willing to be extroverted if I have decided and planned that was the goal of the night. But, like, when I'm out with you, it's like, well, that's not really, I'm not, like, being open-minded in that way. Like, in college, I kind of had to put on that face and kind of do that performance because it made it bearable.
Yeah.
And you kind of, you have to make social connections if you want to have a fun time.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just be in your room
You ain't gonna get laid if you don't talk to nobody.
At that point, it's like, why even bother living on campus if you're just gonna be shut in your room all this time? There's so many opportunities to meet people and network. But, like, in your day-to-day life, there's not so many people to network with. And when we were living in Boston, because the people who were living around us were nothing like us, they were all, like, middle-aged and often Asian. Or just, like,
not that there's anything wrong with being Asian, but we mean they don't speak English.
No, like, this person and I probably wouldn't have that much in common, and I wouldn't know how to interact with them on their level. Like, if I saw more 20-year-old women who, you know, I thought I would have something in common with, there might be more of a potential for me to make friends. Mm-hmm. But there just wasn't that in Boston.
No.
So, like, I'm kind of looking forward to meeting more people who I have a chance to make a friendship with here.
Right.
Because I think that would, you know,
I mean, I would definitely say that the people in this neighborhood seem closer in age to us than
and even when you go outside and go for a walk, people will say hi to you. Yeah. Like, I've already said hi to some of our neighbors.
Oh, Southern hospitality is a very real thing. And, all right, the biggest thing about moving back here is, like, all the stuff that I didn't realize was unique to here. Like, there's so much stuff that... like for instance, this city is insanely green. And like it's not necessarily unique to here cuz like if you go to Atlanta for being an even bigger city, very very green. But like when you've lived in Boston where it's just gray everywhere and like you move here like in Boston's like okay, in the summer it's pretty green. Like it's not like there's not woods and stuff there, but like Boston is non-stop neighborhood. There is no end to the neighborhoods. Like there's not like between there's no space between them. Like all the roads there, there's like one interstate that another 30 minutes. I'm really glad that apparently
your camera stopped. I have to pee also.
I was going to say I'm really glad that they are both synced with each other.
Yeah, right. I have to pee before you said it.
I mean, it's recording still anyway on the mic. I'll just make this point while she speaks. Like down here, neighborhoods are very individual. You would be in one neighborhood, and then there'll be like a forest or something, and then another neighborhood, and then like a stretch of field or something, and like the city is just very spread out. In Boston, in that whole area, like for miles and miles in all directions, the roads are all just serpentine, and like you're never on just like a stretch of a straight road that you can see, you know, for a long distance ahead of you what's on this road. It's like you're always snaking through buildings, you're always going through neighborhoods, and so like yeah, there's greenery, there's trees, but you never encounter a forest, you know?
Yeah, or a marsh.
Or a marsh, or a
little pond, or anything neat.
Or even like, because also in Boston, it's almost always like 1 or 2 lane roads. Like most of the roads are 1 lane with a big shoulder for passing, which I do love. I love the roads.
I love the roads in Boston, and it's super easy to walk.
It's very easy to walk. Though where we live, it's not difficult to walk.
No, but you do have to cross a 6-lane highway, and like if you're going midday, you're gonna be standing there for like 2 minutes waiting for
whatever. It's not as bad as I thought it would be.
No, yeah, right.
Like, I thought
it's still doable.
Yeah, I thought we wouldn't want to walk anywhere, and that was not the case at all. It's totally easy to walk places, but like, and even then, like in Boston, within walking distance of us was like just a convenience store, and then a slightly farther away convenience store, and like a pizza place. Here, there's like a fuckload.
There's like 4 shopping plazas that are within walking distance.
So yeah, like, but in Boston, it was like, like you would always be on 1 lane roads with a big shoulder. Here it's always like 2 very separate roads with a median between them, with trees in the median. So like everywhere you go in town, it's just gorgeous. There's just trees and flowers blooming, and fucking everywhere is super verdant and green, and it's just like, wow, this place, like it just feels good in your heart when you see all that. You're just like, this is like, you know, I'm breathing the fresh air of a fucking green place, and I'm not in like a claustrophobic, snowy fucking gray nightmare land where you feel like you're like in Boston. I always felt very boxed in because I didn't know what, like, you can't see beyond where you are. Like everywhere you are, you're just surrounded by houses, and like it's kind of cool when you're driving around, you feel like you're in a labyrinth, you know, but like you never really learn new places because it's so hard to get anywhere. It's not like we would only ever go somewhere if we knew exactly where it was. Like Google Maps, directions, hit start. Here in Virginia Beach, I could just drive down a long stretch of road and just see all the stuff that's on the side. Hey, that place looks interesting. Why don't we try that out, you know?
Yeah. Another thing about living in Boston, too, is if you drive too far out, you don't really know what the parking situation's going to be.
Yes. Well, that was going to bring me to ask, what do you think is the best thing about living in Virginia Beach?
Oh my gosh. Well,
Number one best thing about this house or this area, whatever. Just the whole living situation.
Wow, there's just so many positive things.
I know what my vote is. Accessibility. It's that, as I've said before, the entire Boston metro area is smaller than just the city of Virginia Beach. But if you wanted to drive from Braintree, where we lived, to Salem, where we went to visit, it was an hour drive. And the same distance here will take you like 20 minutes unless it's rush hour. Like, the only time traffic is bad here is during rush hour.
Which is an hour of the day.
Yeah.
Instead of in other places where it's like 3 hours of the day.
Right. I mean, here it starts getting bad around 4:30, and then it stops getting bad around 7:30.
Yeah.
No, 6 is the worst. 6 is the absolute worst dead zone time to be on the roads. But like, because just today we ran into some pretty bad traffic around 6. But like.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right.
But other than that, like, if it's not rush hour, there's not going to be traffic, and the speed limits are all really high, and the roads are all really straight. So it's like you can cross the whole city super easily. There's stuff everywhere, all over the city. All of it has easily available parking. There's not a single place. We just had dinner in Town Center. There's like 2 free parking garages, maybe 3. I think there's 3 free parking garages and a huge lot. You will never pay for parking in Virginia Beach unless you are on the beach, like the titular beach, and even then, there's parking garages and metered parking, but it's like $2. Like, you will never pay more than a very minimal amount.
You know, you try to go anywhere close to Boston, you're gonna expect like $30 to $50 to park to do anything.
Ludicrous parking. So. Yeah, my favorite thing about here is that, like, wherever I want to go, we just go. Like, it could literally be on the opposite side of the city, and it's just like, oh, whatever. 25-minute drive, you know, that's no big deal compared to 30-minute drive, if you're lucky, combined with $40 of parking that it used to be to go into Boston, or take the fucking train for an hour, you know, or otherwise live in the heart of Boston and not have a house. You know?
Yeah. I guess that's fair. I agree with you. My favorite thing about where we live is just, you know, I don't want to give out like where we are, but just the vicinity that we're in. There are a lot of 24-hour places. We have grocery stores that can accommodate our needs at any time, but also just like outside, there's tons of stuff to do. Yeah. Like, you can go strawberry picking. There are bike trails. There's tons of cool stuff to go do. We're not that far from the actual beach. There's amusement parks. There's hiking. There's boating. And it's like, and there's like festivals and stuff every weekend.
It seems like anywhere you go, there's some shit going on. Like,
right.
And we started getting the newspaper, and in the Sunday paper, there's a section that's just like, you know, your, not just your city, but like your particular area, like the 5-mile radius of your house.
Yeah, like the neighborhood that you're in. And
yeah,
and Braintree,
and there's always like, shit going on.
The only newspaper, there's 2 newspapers, but like they're for the Boston area, and you're not like, there's like a Braintree flyer that comes around once a month, but it's just like for services and stuff.
The town of Braintree in itself was minuscule.
Yeah.
But like the city of Virginia Beach, just like you open up the paper and you're just like, there's like a jazz brunch going on. There's a strawberry picking. There's a wine festival. There's cultural festivals happening every fucking weekend of various cultures. There's so many fucking restaurants.
We're close to other cities bars. If we did want to go to a big concert.
Yeah, not that far to go to Norfolk. You know, it's just like, damn. And like we couldn't have picked a better part of the city, because like I've talked about this already, but like the place we lived before, or where I lived before with my dad, was really in like the shittiest part that you could live in, like the farthest away from anything. But that was also compounded by the fact that I just didn't like to drive back then. Like, I really was a total bitch about driving for more than like 10-15 minutes, and like I didn't learn how to get around town because I would just always go down the same 2 roads because there was enough on those 2 roads. It was like between those 2 roads I could get to anywhere I wanted to go, but like I didn't think about just going to other places just to explore, just for the hell of it. And like I learned to like driving from all the traveling I did, and then it was just like, okay, well now the difference between driving for 10 minutes and driving for 25 minutes is non-existent in my mind. It's the same thing. You're just driving, like, you know, it's just a couple extra songs come on the iPod as opposed to a couple less, you know. I don't even think about what time it is. Like I don't even think about if there's going to be traffic. Then I hit it and I go, oh shit.
Yeah, but I mean,
but I want what I want when I want it, you know?
Right. Not that has anything to do with us being together, but it does at the same time.
What?
You know, is this really on topic conversation?
Has any of this been on topic? We've been going for an hour and 10 minutes.
What is comfy?
What is the
comfy
comfiest?
On topic?
Comfy. Well, do you want to talk about our relationship? And
I want to talk about what we learned tonight.
Tonight?
Yes. So because it's our 2-year anniversary, we were planning to go out to a fancy steakhouse and have a fancy smanchy dinner. We were gonna go last night because that was what we thought the anniversary was.
I had initially thought it was the 21st, and then I realized that the reason that the number 21st was stuck in my mind is because that's when the day we moved in last month. But it was the 22nd that we first met, and I figured this out by going back through the texts that I had sent you. We
had to like actually figure out what the day is because, you know, you visited me for like about a week. Yeah. And you were at my parents' house for like 2 days, and then we went to a hotel. And
it was just easiest to go by the day that I came up because like we didn't officially start dating then. It was like the idea was, I mean, we had been Snapchat sexting for like a couple months before that, and like so. But we never really had gotten to know each. Like, I mean, we knew you knew everything about me because you follow my videos.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's publicly available about you, but you just. I was worried that like I was kind of wasting my time and that you weren't really interested in getting to know me, even though, you know, what you were saying was like, hey, I don't have that much time. Like, let's not make this an internet thing.
Yeah, it was just that like I really didn't want to end up internet dating and like.
Which I think is fair.
Because the way I saw it was if we had started talking, it would have been that we spent a lot of time on like Skype or Discord or something, just like having conversations that would not be as good as the conversations we would have if we met. And when we started talking, you had already guaranteed to me that you were going to come see me. Like right away, you had said like, I will fly down. And so I was like, okay, well, if we're guaranteed going to meet in person no matter what, let's not talk online. Let's just wait till we meet in person, because then we'll know right away. There will be no, like, I was really afraid that we'd start talking online and I'd fall in love with you and then we'd meet in person and it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, it wouldn't meet your expectations.
Or that we just would, you know, not think it was worth the effort of, you know, like moving and all that. Because, like, you know, if I was going to be in a relationship, I wanted it to be one that was going to end up with us living in the same place.
We don't have all the pieces of the puzzle together. Like, if you're interested, let's wait until there's an appropriate time for it.
Yeah. So, like, when I figured out I was coming up, it was like I just came up and, like, within, like, the second day was when I started to feel like, okay, this is going to be, like, this could be a really good relationship. And then, like, I didn't want to say I loved you until I was, like, completely sure. It was like, I wanted it to be, like, I am absolutely certain that, like, everything I think is true, you know? And then once I reached that point on, like, day 4 was when I finally was like, let's call it official. We're in love. We're dating, you know? And then I think we waited a little bit after that before we marked it on Facebook. I think we waited till I left. So it was, like, confusing to know which date. It's like, do we pick the date that... because you were already in love with me. So do we pick the date that I fall in love with you?
When does what date counts that, as that it was Facebook official? Like, it's not like I was at university anymore. Like, I don't care what my Facebook status is. Yeah. It doesn't like.
And the whole week was all just us together hanging out, getting to know each other. So let's just count it as the day we met, in person. And that was today, 2 years ago. Well, it was yesterday, 2 years ago now, I think. It's probably past 12, right?
Yeah, it's, well, I don't know. It's probably close to it, yet. But.
So yeah, the idea was that we were, because basically every time there's some kind of special day, I want to use it as an excuse to go to an expensive restaurant, because there's no other excuses. It's like, I'm not just going to be like, hey, baby, let's go to fucking Ruth's Chris tonight. It's like, that's not going to happen. But if it's like, hey, baby, it's our anniversary, I have an excuse to spend $200 on food, because I just want the chance to eat $200 food. You know, like, I want to be able to do it. But I also knew, based on, what was it, Valentine's Day, where I had similar plans, but we ended up not doing it because we just weren't, like, prepared enough.
Yeah, and I mean, it's me, because I'm kind of flaky about fancy restaurants, because, like, you know, the idea of it is fun, but, like, in actuality, they make me feel, like, mega uncomfortable.
Well, it's because, like, I think one thing that is different about you and I, probably even the biggest difference between us, is that you want to feel comfortable in an environment insofar as, like, I don't stand out, like, I don't look like I don't belong here. And I go into something...
I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say it's like that. I'd say that certain places and certain like, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. It's kind of the feeling that, like, well, I don't know how to order at a really fancy restaurant. It's not so much that, like, I'm afraid of not. I mean,
they guide you through it.
Yeah, no, and I know that they're not going to be rude to you, and a lot of like, you always have the idea of, like, the snobby nosed waiter who will turn you down because you're not walking in with a suit.
That's, like, the opposite of what those places are like.
No, I know.
Suck your fucking dick. That's what makes it so great. Is that the waiter's like, oh yes, we will make any accommodation that you could possibly want. And then you go, could you tell me the exact blend of spices that's in this thing? And he goes, oh, I would be delighted to do that. And then rattles off the whole blend of spices. Like, it's talking to the super cheery waiter that makes it so special. And this is, granted, I've only been to one of these places once, and it was with Nate. And this is part of the reason I want to take you, is because my only memory of a fancy restaurant is with a dude. But, like, we went to this place, and, like, just having that waiting experience of just, like, being doted on, being treated like royalty is, like, it makes you feel like a god.
Well, yeah.
And the guy was just like, it's me and Nate, a couple of, like, 20-something guys with YouTube careers, and we've got, like, a fucking middle-aged, like, butler, basically, like, treating us like boat chama, you know, like the fucking young master, serving us sparkling water and shit. It's delightful.
Yeah, I was like, to me, to do that, I have to be in, like, a certain mood. And I've had experience, like, I've been to nice restaurants before.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to one. Like, just, like, it was kind of an accident that I ended up being there. I was trying to break it off with my ex at the time, and it was his birthday, so I was like, well, you know, let's do one last nice romantic thing. And we were trying to go to the melting pot, or not the melting pot. We were trying to go to Cheesecake Factory. And we walked in, and immediately I was just like, the line was, like, almost out the door. And we tried to, like, talk to the hostess, and she, like, kind of wrote us off as losers and was kind of like, you know, her attitude was kind of shitty. But just everybody in there looked like Stacy and Chad.
Yeah.
Like, the meme of them. So it was just kind of like, I don't really want to eat here. Like, I just wanted to try the Cheesecake Factory for the first time, and, like, my ex was really, like,
never
liked
go to the Cheesecake
But
Factory.
I was kind of like, well, fuck it. Like, I'm sure we can find another place where we don't have to wait and the host is not going to be like a bitch to us.
Life advice to everybody: do not go to the Cheesecake
Factory.
Factory.
It's not worth the calories, dog.
It's not worth the money or the calories.
It's not a nice restaurant.
Shitty food.
No, I granted I've never actually eaten there, but like
I have, and it sucks.
I've heard that it's kind of a meme.
It's just a norm shit. Like it's the same as like Red Lobster. It's like fucking people who think they're eating something fancy because it costs more than $10. Like, but it's shitty and the biggest calorie counts in the fucking universe.
We were both already dressed up or whatever, so we just went across the street to this like I think it was called like Black and Blue Steakhouse, and steakhouses are cool, right? It can't be that expensive. And we go in, and it's like it has like this really cool architecture, and it's like really dim lighting. So we go up and we order drinks at the bar, and it's like fucking $15 a drink, and whatever. I was planning to spend $100 on dinner anyways to like buy whatever drink you want, and we get the menu, and it's like, oh, you have to like the sparkling water is $7, and that's like the only water option they have. Like, this is an expensive place, so it was kind of like I wasn't expecting to go to a place like this, and on Google it had like $2 signs.
Oh well,
so that was a blatant lie, and I ended up spending like $120 for dinner on us. But like, whatever, it was money that I was planning on parting with anyways. I already fucking overpaid for the hotel, so I was gonna take this on the nose. But I don't remember loving the food. I got like some fish dish, and it was just, well, this is okay. The waiters are nice, but like, I didn't think it was that fucking good, and I'm not that into steak, so it's kind of like, well, we're just doing it to be fancy, but like, I don't know, I didn't want to dress up.
Where are you going somewhere with all that?
Was I?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You said something about we learned something tonight.
Yeah, I guess. What did I learn? That maybe I should just be more direct. Because, like, it's, you know, it's the stereotype where couples will argue about where they want to eat, but because both of them are being too passive, they never actually decide on where to go.
Well, the issue is that, like, so I wanted to go to Ruth's Chris, and I've wanted to go there for a long time because that was where my dad used to take his employees in order to reward them after like a great month, like his top brass, you know, when he was a GM, and they would spend like a ridiculous amount of money on food and wine, and like I just saw it as like this ludicrously opulent like flaunting of wealth. And then I started listening to Biggest Problem in the Universe, and one of the biggest arguments on the old show was Maddox had tried to say that anything over $30 for a steak is indistinguishable. Like the quality does not continue to go up. And Dick Masterson was very adamantly against this. He was like, no, you are retarded. He was like, that might be because Maddox was trying to equate something that is true of wine with steak. But Dick gave this long argument about why steak at higher, like why it costs more, what makes it higher quality. And he's a big time steak guy because he just likes to, you know, do nice things and flaunt money. So like him and Life Coach go to steakhouses all the time, and he's talked about various steakhouses, and he's mentioned Ruth's Chris, which I had not known was a chain until I heard him say it on the show. So like knowing that it's a place that Dick, as a steak guy, would accept also made me want to go try it. So in RadCon 2, one of the stretch goals for the Kickstarter was that me and Jesse would go eat a dinner at Ruth's Chris and film, like vlog ourselves doing it. But we did not end up doing that because we went over budget. And also he showed up 4 days late. So we had to crunch to finish all the fucking recording. But like Nate and I ended up going to a fancy place when I was staying with him just because it was a place he had taken his parents, I guess, and was going to take Michelle because Michelle was coming to see him for the first time right after I left, like the day after. And he was planning to take her there. So I think he was taking me there as like a dry run, like making sure it would be a good place, you know? And so,
which is very him.
Yeah, and also we were just like, whatever, let's throw around some money because why not? But it was really hilarious because like I had just started dating you and I haven't gone anywhere fancy with you yet, but I'm going there with fucking Nate, you know. And I wore his clothes because I literally don't own any fancy clothes.
In quotation marks.
It was fancy.
Well, yeah, I mean, like,
it was about 90 times fancier than anywhere I've ever been before.
Well, no, yeah, it's like you haven't been anywhere fancy with me, but like I did take you out to like fancy places. But
well,
not
do you
like
mean the melting pot?
Well, I don't know. I just feel like I spent a lot on meals and stuff for you. But like no, I didn't take you to a steak dinner.
You didn't take me to a place that cost me $80 for my own meal.
Yeah.
I spent $80 on the meal I had.
I feel like that's the most fucking frivolous thing in the entire world. Like
that's the point.
No, I get it. But I'm a 24-year-old who makes $300 a month. Like I have no business
you don't have
being
to pay
in a place
for it.
like that.
It's me.
No, I understand, but like I feel uncomfortable in places like that because I don't really know how to behave because I'm a messy eater. And
look, I am a foodie.
Yeah, I know.
More than anything,
but
I love food.
But
and
you're not paying for expensive food. You're paying to be treated like royalty.
No, I want it's the reason you're treated like royalty is that you're spending money on this expensive food. Like it's not like they make.
But you're also paying to eat at the fancy restaurant, to be served by the fancy waiters.
Well, that's all bonus.
By like high trained chefs,
right.
Usually, but you're eating at a Ruth's Chris. It's a chain.
It doesn't matter that it's a chain.
No,
it's a luxury chain. It's like saying the Hilton's just a chain. The Hilton is a fucking nice hotel, but they're everywhere.
But they're Hiltons.
Yeah, they're nice. Have you ever been to a Hilton? It's fucking great.
I've been to a Hilton, but it's...
You've been to a nicer hotel than a Hilton?
No, that's why I don't want to eat at Ruth's Chris. I'm not a millionaire.
Well...
I'm just a little spoiled. I'm like Cheesecake Factory spoiled.
Oh, God. No, you're definitely more than Cheesecake Factory spoiled. The place I just took you tonight was better than Cheesecake Factory.
No, I completely agree. I'm just a little, a little bit more hipster than a Cheesecake Factory.
I wouldn't date someone who took me to the Cheesecake Factory.
You say that, but I'm sure your ex would have taken you to the Cheesecake Factory.
I would have broken up with her right then and
there. No, you wouldn't have.
Yeah,
you would have just been like, this isn't really my thing.
Well, I would have ribbed on it fucking harshly and made her feel like a dumb idiot, and that would have made her
But it's a little strong to tell somebody that you would break up with them because
I didn't say I'd break up. I just said I wouldn't date someone who would take me to the Cheesecake Factory.
You just said you would break up with her.
Well, that was a joke.
I know. But like I think that is a little bit unreasonable.
What, not dating someone because they took me to Cheesecake Factory?
They took you out to a dinner.
At the Cheesecake Factory.
If you had
it means
problem
you have
with
bad
it?
Taste.
Well, yes.
How are you ever supposed how am I supposed to live with somebody who thinks that it's acceptable to eat things that are bad? Like, if you ate bad things, then it would be like, oh shit, I have to eat with you. And you eat bad things, you know? But you eat good things. Which is why it's easy for us to live together.
Yeah, I mean, I care about food a lot, and I've, hung out with people who think Little Caesars is a fucking exciting day,
Yeah.
I've hung out with people who get excited to eat hot dogs and hamburgers every night.
Oh,
Did I ever tell you about, like, there's this girl that I used to go on double dates with all the time, but, like, when she'd go out, she'd only get a plain hamburger. And, like... Every time I went to a restaurant, she'd only get a plain hamburger. It didn't matter what the place was.
That's acceptable until you're like 16.
No, it's never acceptable. It's not.
It's acceptable if you have only ever eaten on other people's dime.
I don't know. There's just... Food is one of the reasons to live. Because people put their heart and soul into it, and is what gives you life.
It's exciting to think of the prospect of getting to eat something you wouldn't ordinarily get the chance to eat.
I'm not gonna sit here and say it's not exciting, and like I would, one day want to go to a place like that, but it does make me nervous.
That's understandable.
To be in a situation like that, and also like just the idea of spending $200 on a meal for two people seems a little frivolous. And also, like, I don't like being waited on by like people like that.
Let's put it this way.
I don't get anything out of it.
Other people would probably spend that amount to... All right, let me break it down even better. Your dad took us to Salem one time. It was you and me and your sister and her fiance and your brother and your dad. Every single thing we did costed him $70.
Yes, at least.
To go to a shitty little place for like 15 minutes, be retold the exact same story of Salem over and over again. So he probably spent like $500 on walking around Salem. Now, it was fun to have done once because at least you can say you had that experience. But I would think going and spending $200 on an amazing meal would be more worth the money.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. I don't think it would be more or less worth the money. Like, if you're spending $1,000 to have like a day trip you're excited about and you're going to learn something and you're going to be out and did it stop? I don't know where I was.
I was watching it.
Just the
You don't have to stop because the recording keeps going.
I know.
The audio is
I guess
constant.
you're right.
Yeah.
I think at that point you're paying for an experience, for a memory, and you're doing things with people that you care about that you don't get to see often. Going to have a meal...
What is the difference between that and the other thing? You can do all those things at Ruth's Chris.
No, you can make memories there, but like you're just eating a dinner. You're just eating a steak.
Versus you're watching a dumb story about Salem.
You're walking around, making memories, going to exhibits, learning about history. Like, you know, the individual things that we may have done
steak.
Were not that interesting.
I could learn about how they prepared this steak.
But there's Ruth's Chris's literally in every major city.
I mean, if you wanted to go somewhere that's not Ruth's Chris, that's fine.
A lot of my problems with it is the fact that it's a chain. And so all of my associative memories of Ruth's Chris are from people who went there for work functions.
Right.
So when I think of Ruth's Chris, I think of guys in business casual attire who are like coming from a convention or coming from a business meeting or celebrating a hard day of work to spend a lot of work's money on a work function. Yeah. It seems really boring. And the food.
I think that's where my dad took my mom for every anniversary.
No, and I bet that's just because that's what I've heard of it. Like, it's a steakhouse. They have fries and beers and mixed drink and steak and salmon, which, you know, that's fine. But there's chicken. They probably have chicken too, but there's tons of restaurants that are like that. And like, for me to decide that like Ruth's Chris is gonna be a better experience than like a place that's on the water that's like a similar price point that serves the same kind of food. If
you would rather go there, then go there instead. This is not an argument for the soul of Ruth's Chris specifically.
I know. I'm just saying that, like, okay, so as somebody who has been to a couple fancy restaurants, never been to Ruth's Chris, but all I know about it is that people get drunk there after work functions. Yeah. And that they have good fries. It's kind of like, well, I don't want to spend $200.
To hear that they have fries. Like, I didn't expect that to be a place that would have fries.
Because you buy things a la carte. I think I'm remembering a story that somebody told me that, like, they brought their kids to, like, a business meeting, and their kid would only eat fries.
The reason I'm pretty sure my parents would go there for, because, like, every once in a blue moon, and part of this is just because, for an anniversary, it's obviously partly because it's romantic, but, like, every so often, my parents would go to a restaurant.
What is romantic about eating steak and fries?
You don't have to get fries.
No,
I don't think it's normal to get fries.
But any place that has fries in the menu, it's like it knocks off like the fact that
everywhere has fries on the menu. What are you talking about?
Not true. You go to a hibachi restaurant, they don't got no fries.
Hibachi sucks.
I agree with that. I don't actually like hibachi food. But I do like Japanese cuisine.
Yes.
And it's fun to kick back some drinks.
The only fun Japanese place is a place that have, like, legit Japanese food. Like, if you find a place that has, like, ramen and fucking, like, takoyakis and shit.
Like, most hibachi is just kind of like the attraction of it, and most of the chefs are terrible.
And
like,
they're not even Japanese.
They fucking do it every single day, but they're like dropping the egg, and it's like, well, this is your job. Why do you suck so bad at it?
Yeah.
And like they always do the same thing, but like it's fun to feel like you're a part of the experience of cooking, and it's like for a lot of people, like they've never eaten something like that. So if you take like a white ass guy and you're like, hey, let's get hibachi, they're like, whoa, I didn't know you could have so much fun making food. Mm-hmm. So it's like fun, and it's fun to have a couple of drinks and just like, well, you know, I like fried rice, I like chicken, it's nothing special, I'm not going to a French restaurant, but like whatever, it's fun, I can wear jeans, it's a good time. I can drink some Sapporo and watch some Asian guy weirdly flirt with me while preparing my shrimp dinner.
He flirts with everyone, though. That's
I know,
part of the job.
but that makes it better.
So what did we learn?
I learned that I really suck.
No, that can't be what you learned.
That's what I learned.
That is not what you learned.
No, because, okay, the one of the main reasons that I didn't want to go to a fancy restaurant is because I would have had to wax my armpits.
Yeah. I mean, that's a perfectly reasonable argument. Like, that's a lot more reasonable than that Ruth's Chris has
they're
fries.
at, like, a tolerable level, like, where I would wear a tank top around the house, but, like, I wouldn't wear it out in public.
Uh-huh.
I probably need to wax, like, tonight or tomorrow, but, like...
Do you think that if you had been fully waxed, if we had woken up at a more normal time...
Oh,
that, like,
if we woke up at a more normal time,
if you had dress shoes,
yeah,
would we have just gone to Ruth's Chris?
I probably wouldn't have made such a stink out of it. And also, if it was something that I was like primed or used to doing, but because it's so out of the ordinary of what I would do. Well, that's what I'm
trying to get us. I'm trying to get us there so we can get used to it.
No, but I don't.
I want to be used to it.
I think you have other responsibilities before you can be used to it.
That's also a fair argument. That's a fair reason to not go, which is ultimately what I internalized. Like, what I took away from it is...
I also should have just bought those goddamn flats at Marshall's. Because it's $20, and I would have been like, well, I bought shoes, so I guess I have to go to the restaurant.
I think the fact of the matter is that I don't think I ever believed that you would actually want to go. Because if I had believed it, well, okay, if you had really thought we were going to go, you would have got the shoes. Like, if you had really been determined to eat there, you would have got the shoes and waxed your armpits way beforehand because you knew, like, a week early that we were planning to go to this place.
Okay, you can't wax your armpits way beforehand because the stubble will grow a week later, and if I'm dressing up
Forget
to go...
the armpits.
I know.
I knew you didn't... Like, we talked about, like, because we were like, we need to have... First of all, Ruth's Chris doesn't actually have a dress code. I just assumed.
No, but if we're going to Ruth's Chris, I'm going to want to dress up.
I know this. I know this to be true. And, like, the day before I finally got together, we went to Marshall's. I bought a pair of khakis and a dress shirt. Spent $40 to buy an outfit to wear to Ruth's Chris. But you kept pointing out, but you don't have shoes that you could wear, and I don't have shoes either. And I was like, well, should we get shoes? And you were like, non-committally like, not really. And I'm like, well, okay, so if we don't have shoes and we're not getting the shoes and you don't want to go if you don't have the shoes, then you don't want to go, right? And so I already had that inkling in my mind, and I also knew that we were probably going to wake up at 4 p.m. And so when I found out that they close at like 9, because I just thought they'd be open till 2. They fucking serve drinks.
Oh, you thought they'd be open to 2?
My dad used to come home like mega fucking late from that place.
I'm sure that they keep the restaurant open because it's a fancy restaurant. They probably have such an early closing time because they don't want people coming in that late.
Right. Because
it's not a place where they're going to rush you out.
You're typically there for an hour and a half to 2.5 hours, according to Googly. But I just thought it like ran late because I thought you go eat fancy food late. That's just how I think of fancy food.
No, I do too.
So it's weird to me that they would close at 9, and I knew we were waking up at like 4, and I was like, I know that if we're going somewhere this fancy, you would want like 2 hours to prepare, And if that 2 hours is going to lead us up to 6 o'clock and we just woke up, we're not going to be like the right kind of hungry at the right time. So like I already knew that it was breaking down and it probably wasn't going to work out. But like, so I kept asking, like, do you want to go? Are you sure you want to go? And you're like, well, maybe. And then it eventually got to a point where we were like, okay, well, there's other fancy restaurants we can look at. But the only ones I was looking at were just other really fancy restaurants.
Yeah.
And then as we were just kind of giving up on the idea altogether, you kind of reminded me that there's also just this tier of, you know, restaurants that aren't insanely fancy, but are just fancier than we would normally go to. Like places that it's going to be, you know, maybe 60 or 70 bucks for a meal, or 100 after tip as it ended up being. But like,
yeah, I mean,
you know,
that's what you can expect.
Right.
Like,
well, because we got, you know, the appetizers, we got the dessert, we got the alcoholic beverages. It's like, I did it up, you know?
Yeah.
It was the full course.
Yeah, like, you can expect to pay any kind of amount for food.
Yeah.
And, like, you can get good food for $10 a person, including drink. Yeah. It doesn't mean the food's going to be worse. It's just you're paying for the atmosphere and experience.
I can get food that I love for $5, but, like, it's not the atmosphere and experience I'm paying for. It's the variety. It's the ability...
You're paying for all of it because that's what makes the restaurant more expensive.
Well, sure, but like, but also the food. Like, I mean, when it comes to steak, the reason that they have to build that ambience is that in order to justify selling you a $70 piece of meat, they have to make you feel like you're never gonna find a $70 steak in like a place that looks like shit, even if it's worth $70. Like, if as soon as you have a chef who can make a $70 steak, here's the thing.
The actual cut of meat is never going to cost $70. You're paying for everything that goes into the experience of eating that
meat. But like,
you're paying for the waiters. You're paying for the chefs.
That if I paid for a $30 steak, that it would be just as good as a $70 steak? Because this is exactly what the Maddox versus Dick argument was. It's a completely different experience.
You can't compare a luxury experience to something that you get at like an Applebee's.
Well, you don't pay $30 for a steak at Applebee's.
No, but you know what I mean. Like, what really makes the steak taste good? I'm not a big steak person.
I mean, like, I could show you the Dick Masterson's whole rundown.
No,
like,
I understand.
All the special cooling processes.
No, I know. Like, steak specifically is like... But, like, when I think of fancy food, steak is not the first thing I think of. I normally think of fish, French cuisine, Italian.
I'm not a steak guy either.
Yeah. So, like, to me, paying $7 for a steak that, like, I'm not going to appreciate the minute differences of a $70 steak versus a $40 steak because I have not had a $40 steak.
You don't know until you try
I've had a $20 steak, and it was just a fucking steak. It's just a fucking steak, man. It's just a fucking steak. How do you know?
You haven't tried it. You can't say that.
But that's what it is.
You can't say it till you've had it.
I don't know, man. I'd say, like...
if we were to go and I were to eat the food and say this wasn't worth the cost, I would never go again. But I don't know. That's why I want to go so badly. Because I need to justify it. I need to know for a fact. If I go there and I think, wow... that was not worth at all the amount I paid, I would just never eat fancy steak again.
We're making an assumption about the experience of eating at Ruth's Chris, which is that you are going to be waited on like royalty, treated like you're going to a fancy establishment, while Ruth's Chris is not necessarily a fancy establishment. It's a chain.
It's a luxury chain.
Okay, I understand that, but there is no dress code. People take their children there. There is a happy hour.
Weird people take their children there.
There are French fries on the menu. Okay, so all of those things
French fries are on the menu everywhere.
No, I know. Lead me to think that the experience that you had with Nate eating at was it a steakhouse or was it
it was like exactly the same kind of place as Ruth's Chris is.
Okay. I know. The place that I went to was a surf and turf, steak, seafood, chicken was on the menu.
They all basically are.
I mean, expensive steakhouses, yes, but there are other types of expensive cuisine.
Like what?
French cuisine.
How much is it?
French, you would probably spend
Where do I find it?
There's not a lot of French restaurants because the chefs are usually extremely well trained and have,
see, look, if there had been a French restaurant in Virginia Beach, I would have said,
okay,
let's go there.
It'd be more likely that you're gonna find like an expensive ass restaurant in Norfolk, because Virginia Beach is like.
No, I looked at the whole area,
or maybe even Richmond. I don't really know what it's like here because like my experience, a fancy ass restaurant would be in New York City, and I've been to restaurants in New York City that were expensive and fancy.
Yes, New York City is a very different place.
Yeah, no, because like we've lived in a variety of places. In Boston, there's tons of like $3 sign restaurants that will serve you great seafood, but I don't really care that much about seafood.
Me neither.
So like when you go to a place like that, it's like, well, this place is nice, but I don't give a shit. And I feel that way about steak too.
All right, let me pitch it to you this way. If it were up to me, I would literally eat at a different restaurant every single time I left the house. I would eat breakfast at a different breakfast place, lunch at a different lunch place, and dinner at a different dinner place every single day. And if
would you still say that even though I cook?
No, but
because like I like to cook, and I would say like
I like what you cook. I also like that you don't make the same shit all the time. You make totally different shit. Like, if you just made a rotation of the same 6 things every week, I would get extremely bored with
yeah, me too. That's why I don't do that.
Just yesterday, we had a chicken tikka masala. First time ever. Great food, Yeah, so,
it's pretty easy. I just made it in the slow cooker.
But,
there's probably better ways to prepare it. But
assume I'm by myself, and I have infinite money. I literally would never eat at home. I would eat out every meal, and I would always eat whatever was new or was my favorite, because the way I operate is that I start off when I move somewhere eating at somewhere different every single time I eat out until I have weeded out all the shitty places, and then I just go back to the places I like over and over again. So what my goal would be to find out how good is each place relative to its price point, and then every day I can ask myself, like, how much do I want to spend? How long do I want to be out? What kind of atmosphere am I looking for? What mood am I in? And then I go to that place, right? So in order to do this, you have to go everywhere. And the problem with that is that if I don't have infinite money, I can't afford to go everywhere. Like, there's a fuckload of places in our area that I'm excited to try that we haven't tried yet, because they're a little pricey, and I'm trying not to spend that much money right now. I'm trying to, I'm not pinching pennies, but I'm keeping it on the down low.
It's like,
now, when it comes to a place like a Ruth's Chris, that place is so expensive that there's no fucking way I would ever suggest it just randomly, hey, let's go to Ruth's Chris tonight because we haven't been there yet. It would have to be a special occasion. And so that means there's only like 3 times a year that it's even on the table, that it's even suggestible that we go there. It would have to be an anniversary or a birthday or Valentine's Day, some kind of holiday. Those are the only times that it's even available. So every time one of them comes up, I'm like, is this going to be the one? Is this going to be the day that we go to the super expensive place? And then we find out if it's good or bad. And then if it's bad, or just not worth the money, we never go back. But if it's good, then we know, oh man, we had such a good time eating at that place. We got to go back there on the next holiday, the next time we can justify it. And then we'll be excited to go back, And so, like, this is my, my very romanticized image of this.
Yeah, I understand.
And so, like, for me, it's like every time we don't do it, it's like, all right, well, it's gonna happen eventually. One of these days, I'm going to the Ruth's Chris, one way or another, if I'm taking you in a body bag, you know what I'm saying? So, like, it's just like, if you don't want to do it this time, that's fine. I will lie in wait. I will bide my time. There were a lot of other restaurants that were good. Like, if I was making the ridiculous over-under that I was when we lived in Rochester, where, like, I was making way more than I could spend, then going somewhere like we did tonight, which, by the way, Tupelo Honey in Town Center, right near Ruth's Chris, pretty good place, down-home southern cooking. I got a rack of ribs, wouldn't recommend that. I mean, it was good, but it's just ribs. You could get those literally anywhere. But they have these fucking like loaded potato, like bacon potato, cheesy,
like loaded potato skins that were
fucking great.
They were the best I've ever had. Like honestly, as a kid, those were my favorite food.
Yeah, they were better than I've had from.
But
anywhere
those were
else,
the best.
Sure.
The mixed drinks were great. The service was pretty good.
Yes, good service.
You know, I got a salad.
I'd been there before.
It was pretty good. Was it worth $17?
I think both of us made a mistake by not getting the most unique thing on. Like, whenever you go to a restaurant, I think the best policy is to get something you can't get normally, like that you can't get at a place you would go to otherwise. You know.
I just wanted a goddamn salad, dog.
Right. Well, some of those salads looked really unique by the way
they all had
described.
fucking nuts on them.
Well.
Yeah, you know, you could ask for no nuts, but a lot of it was like the salad dressing would have nuts in it.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
Whatever. I wish I had gotten the meatloaf.
And just
or something, or the catfish. But I asked the lady.
She seemed like no way.
Well, because I said, what would you get, the catfish or the ribs? And she was like, oh, the ribs. But it's like, I just think she likes ribs.
Right.
You know, she didn't seem like a catfish kind of person.
Ribs. I mean, most people would probably pick ribs, but
yeah. But anyway, good place, pretty good place. Good, you know, if you want to take someone on a fancy dinner in town center and you don't want to go to the Cheesecake Factory like a basic bitch, Tupelo Honey is the same type of food. If you want to be served
by bearded hipsters.
Yeah. Is that who serves at Cheesecake Factory?
No, at the restaurant, the guy who brought us food was like...
Oh, I didn't see that guy. I only saw her.
Picturesque hipster man. But like the aesthetic of the restaurant was pretty cool. It was like very, you know, Southern cooking, which, you know, we're in the South, so
none of the music they played made me want to kill myself.
Not even Taylor Swift.
I didn't notice.
You walked
Taylor
in and
Swift just sounds like
Taylor
white noise
Swift.
to me.
Yeah.
They played Bailamos. Bailamos, let the river take you.
They played, you know, songs you'd hear at a Macy's.
Yes. It was definitely the same playlist as a Macy's, which is fine. It's a lot better because like nearby is the Yard House, and they always play fucking butt rock, and I can't fucking like overpoweringly loud butt rock. So if you want to fucking listen to Hoobastank while you eat like $9 fucking deviled eggs,
what I imagine Ruth's Chris, they play terrible music at a Ruth's Chris.
No, they would play fucking. It would be nothing but fucking smooth jazz. It would be all. I
don't know. It just like doesn't. It doesn't like. When I think about the stories I've heard and how people explain it, it just doesn't feel like, you know, a high-end establishment. It's like it's just a place to get steak with your boys.
Nobody just goes with their boys to get a $70
Everybody
steak.
I know who's ever been there has been there for a work function.
That's not your boys. That's your fucking people who you're trying to impress.
When you're 40 years old, that's your boys.
I guess so.
That's all you got.
I guess my dad's boys were basically all just his fucking high-level employees.
Yeah.
So, it's fair enough.
You'd go with Nate.
He usually had, like, his second in command was a woman, so it wasn't like it was just him and a bunch of boys.
That's your boy.
Yeah, whatever.
You pick your second command, that is your boy.
Yeah.
You're sexist if you think your boy has to be a man. Completely different ideas.
Where was I going before I started like giving a review of Tupelo Honey?
We were talking about.
What was I building towards?
You were talking about listing off all your favorite restaurants, an ideal situation where you would, you know, sample every single place around you and decide.
Well, I think I was just trying to say that, like, you know, there's plenty of other options that are, like, above what I would currently be willing to... Oh, I was trying to say that, like, stuff on that level, back when I was making the money that I was, like, the crazy over-under that I had in Rochester, I would have been willing to go there every week. Like, we would go to fairly expensive places back then. Like, we would go out for Italian and spend, like... you know, $60 on a 2-person meal.
Like twice a week, probably.
I don't know about twice a week.
At least once a week.
We would definitely go to places that were like, you know, $40 to $50.
Yeah, and again, when I was working, I would also like buy a lot of the dinners.
Yeah, you would contribute to a lot of it, and like,
which I want to be able to do, because like.
But like, it was also, I paid for most of it just because I felt bad about putting you in that position, because it's like, I will.
Yes.
It's because I have the money to do it that we would do it. Like,
yeah,
you
no.
would not go to those places if
but
of your own
it doesn't
accord,
change the fact that like a couple of those times I would pick up the check just because I like to do that.
Yeah.
Like when I had like more money on me, it's I was being responsible with it, but I didn't really spend a whole lot.
Yeah.
And
but
I like to treat.
This was before I learned the terrors of things like tax debt and moving into an overpriced house for a year or almost a year. And
but I'm also the same person who like
having a dependent
is a poor ass college student who had like a limited meal plan and like $100 a month to spend on food.
Yeah.
So I could live off tuna and ramen if I really had to.
I can too. I mean, I lived off of peanut butter for a while.
I could live in a one-room apartment.
But that's why I like living this way so much, is that like I grew up in like my food situation my entire life was garbage because like my mom can't cook. She like we ate nothing but fucking TV dinners and fucking like kid cuisines all growing up and fucking banquets and
it's okay.
completes and
it's okay. We're past that. I'm sorry.
Fucking home style bakes.
I'm really sorry.
And fucking hamburger helper. And
I'm getting fucking triggered.
Like this is all I ate growing up, and then like as an adult, it was like when I started making money, I felt like I was rich because I went to fast food every night. I was like, oh my god, I've got so much money, I can eat fast food instead of eating shitty at-home food every single night. So I would every night get like, whoa, Arby's, or oh my god, I'm fucking eating Wendy's instead of at-home food. I'm fucking loaded. And then it was like, oh shit, now I can afford Thai food, and now I can afford fucking Japanese food. Holy shit, I'm moving up in the world. And then it was like I got to a point where it's like, all right, I can just go wherever the fuck I want, and I can take this hot sexy girl out to a fucking Italian place and fucking eat really primo Italiana. And fucking
it's just like it makes me really sad to hear about how you ate growing up, because like growing up, mealtime was sacred. Like it was like as a kid my mom would cook for us most of the time. We'd go out like maybe every other week, but like it was something that you look forward to. My mom didn't make a ton of food, but like she had a couple of recipes that she would fucking belt out, and it'd be, wow, this is great. I love when you make greens and beans or like a frittata or something. And like even my dad, like he didn't know how to cook, but he fed us well. He didn't buy us like cheap ass food. Like my dad would make chili for us, and that shit would be good as fuck.
Every couple of months we might go out to like a Ruby Tuesday or something. But like my dad was just very easily embarrassed by the fact that we were a bunch of rambunctious children. So he didn't, I'm not blaming him. But yeah, and generally my parents just aren't really the type to go out to eat. Well, it's funny because they do now that they can go to all their little hipster shit and they go together without the family. Like as soon as we were all grown up enough that they didn't have to worry about taking us places, that was when they started eating out.
Yeah.
And like they love to go to all the like most market fresh like places that are super hip and hoppin'. Like I could take you to all the places in Virginia Beach that my parents go to, and you'd be like, oh, I see. Like, oh, I get it. I get why your parents like this place. You know, like the Leaping Lizard or Citrus or something. Like, they're all places that have been featured on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, like...
You should definitely go to the Leaping Lizard.
It's pretty good. It's across town, though.
Yeah, we should do it when we go see your, go to your parents' house to to meet with the ACI.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we could do that if we're there for lunch.
Yeah, we'll be there for, like, brunch at least.
Yeah, they're only open for lunch hours, so...
Yeah, so we can
like
probably go, like, 11
And they're
or
always
something.
fucking slammed if it's a nice day, because it's all outdoor. Well, there is indoors, but it's cramped indoors.
Well, that's cool. But yeah, I mean, your parents have... Like, they go more for the vibe.
The Leaping Lizard has literally visible chickens where you're sitting there eating.
Oh my god, I love that.
See the chickens, and that the psychological effect of that. My dad would always talk about how it's so fresh. You could tell they just fucking killed this chicken.
God.
You could tell that, oh, it's so fresh, man.
Because
they grow all their own stuff, so it's so fresh. And I would eat it, and I'd just be like, this to me, this $13 sandwich is completely indistinguishable in quality from the $7 turkey sandwich at Arby's. In fact, I kind of like the Arby's one a little bit more. But my dad would be like, it's so fresh. And I'd just be like, yeah, but it's pretentious as fuck.
No, I know. When I was a kid, I grew up in, like, Forks, Pennsylvania, and at first it was very developmental, like, farmland. Mm-hmm. And, like, in your backyard, you'd see, like, cornfields and shit, but it became more developed as I lived there. My favorite place was this place called Forks Diner, and they had, like, a giant fucking chicken enclosure, but you know they didn't, like, that wasn't where they were getting their chickens from, because there's no way they would have enough chickens to supply the demand. But that was my favorite place, just because, like,
I mean, that's also true of the Leaping Lizard. Like, they don't have so many chickens that it could possibly
that's
be
not
the
chickens out
eating.
there are not the chickens they're probably cooking. Like,
I mean, I do believe they have their own farm, but it's not there. Like,
you know, I'm sure that, like, they probably do use the chickens at their farm, but that's not all they're using.
Yeah.
But I do like places like that just are, you know, down to earth, because I'm kind of down to earth.
Well, that's the thing. It has the appearance of being down to earth, but the food is $16, and it always has some kind of weird flavor I can't stand.
Okay, that's not like the diner I was talking about, because it's just a fucking diner in the farmland.
No, we're talking about a place that when you go there, the parking lot is 100% SUVs. Like fancy ones, expensive SUVs.
Hell yeah. Well, your dad is also a man who said he'd be content eating cheese quesadillas every single night.
Yes, he did say that
cheese
once.
Quesadilla. A fucking
that's why
Frankenstein bastard of a cuisine.
That's like the places my parents go to, like, it just seemed like, okay, maybe this place is legitimately good, but, like, they're always hopping. Like, long wait times or, like, difficult to get a seat. And it's like, do you guys really like this place because it's good, or do you like it because it looks like it has the appearance of being good because everyone's here? Because Cheesecake Factory has a line going around the place, but it's dog shit food.
No, you know it's because they see other people being there. Like, oh, this is a popular place. I want to eat here. It's worth the wait.
Right. Because they would go to Citrus.
Because there are certain people who...
I don't think Citrus is worth it at all. Like, you wait a fucking hour, and, like, but they were like... Oh, but you can drink mimosas in line. And it's like, yeah, I could also just go somewhere that I can get mimosas at the table where they sit me immediately.
Or I could just make a mimosa at home and make fucking pancakes and bacon.
Yeah.
That's just me, though, because I am kind of a geeky.
You're better at making pancakes than my mom is. I don't want to fucking sit here and shit on my mom for her cooking, but no. I've been doing that nonstop for 5 years, so I guess
like your mom's cooking. No... She's only made me pancakes and with agave. And I was like, I've never had agave before, but it's almost as good as syrup. Don't know why you're not using syrup, but it's all right. The end.
Yeah.
So we've become boomers, and all we talk about is food. But today, this
has been true of me forever. This is long before the boomerification.
Today, it's like, what do you do on your anniversary? If not, get some food, get drunk, have a sexy time. What else do you even do? You go see a movie? Fuck that. What's romantic about seeing fucking Avengers 4?
Ugh.
What's romantic about that? Like, there was a time when there were movies that weren't by Disney coming out.
What was the last movie we saw? Detective Pikachu.
Detective Pikachu. Would you say that was romantic?
No.
No. I don't think going to movies is romantic.
If Princess Mononoke was playing or something, I could see
We went to go
that.
see Princess Mononoke.
Right. I'm saying, like, if that was playing on our anniversary, I would be like, oh, let's go see Princess Mononoke on our anniversary.
Yeah, but I don't think, like, seeing a movie in theater is romantic.
No.
It's kind of trite. It's kind of just like...
I mean, we would go see it regardless of if it was our anniversary. We would just see it because it's a film playing in theaters.
A lot of people treat seeing movies as kind of like a special occasion thing.
Yeah, I don't get...
But I don't see it that way.
The amount of... this is the other thing. And this is why I don't, like... As much as I've been haranguing you about this Ruth's Chris thing for this entire podcast, I really don't care. And the reason... I know,
it's a fun conversation.
The reason is that it's... when I was raised, I think okay, here's my advice to all you autistic guys out there who don't have a girlfriend. There is one like you. You just got to keep looking. But they're not going to tell you unless they already know. Like in my case, I'm very lucky. All the information about me was online. It was kind of just a matter of time.
I'm going to be honest. If there was a guy that I really was interested in, they would absolutely 100% know that I was into them. Because that's the kind of person that I am. But a lot of girls, they believe that the man should speak to them first, even though they might say they're a feminist or
it's not quite what I mean. I don't mean that they're not going to assume this girl's not aware of you, is what I mean to say. Mm-hmm. If let's say that you were me and I saw you out and about. Let's say that we were at the same concert. I would look at you and I would not make any assumption that you were anything like me. It just wouldn't enter my mind because you don't have a big sign on your chest that says, I'm a dank weeb. Like, people don't walk around signposting who they are. You have to find out.
Right.
And you will never assume that person exists. You just won't. If you feel like no one's like me, you're just not going to assume that anyone's like you. And the weirder you are, the harder it is to find those people. Now, the funny thing is, most of the people who feel that way would be able to find someone very easily if they looked for like 5 seconds. And this is why so many people who are in my audience end up hooking up with each other. Because it's like the second you find something that speaks to you on a deep enough level and you talk to somebody else who also that thing speaks to them on that deep of a level, then the two of you have a really strong connection right out of the gate. So, like, that's why fan communities are such a great place for dating pools. It's why cons are where people hook up.
Yeah,
it's
but,
like,
okay, being a woman, I stay away from things like that because of the flock of males who will attempt to, engage with you on the premise that because you like a similar thing that they do, that you are in their dating pool. And I think there's lots of girls who just, like, aren't really into the con life or aren't really into this scene, but appreciate the same things you do. You just have to meet them on that level.
Yeah.
But
well,
I'm
just saying it would be really easy to get, like, there's tons and tons of chicks who go to cons to get laid.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, cons are a social experiment.
Right.
They're a social endeavor.
Thirsty ass nerd girls out there.
Yeah, I mean that's what all cosplayers are. Let's just say it.
They're getting on the Discord. They're joining Discord groups. I'm not saying hit up, like, assume everyone you're talking to is available and looking for a connection. But if you're trying to, like, find people who are like you, like-minded individuals, it probably helps to look in those communities. Don't do it with the mindset of a predator. Do it at the mindset of, I'm looking to meet new people.
This is a great opportunity
and if you just so happen
like the same stuff.
to meet a girl who thinks you're cool and you think she's cool or vice versa, then it could progress from there. But, like, most of the people I know online, all of their relationships have come from their fan communities. I know tons of people who've gotten married through, like, 2 people who used to be on the pub crawl. They were both pony musicians who both were on the pub crawl. I'm sure that had a lot to do with progressing their relationship, and they eventually got married, So, like, it happens a lot. But, like, again, if you're not putting yourself in those situations, it won't happen. Now, if you're like me, and you basically hate almost everybody, and like, don't try to go out and try to communicate with people at all because you would rather not attract that kind of attention, then the best bet you have is to just have every speck of information about you available so that when inevitably the right girl stumbles upon this treasure trove of human connection, they will go, holy shit, I gotta say something, or else I will regret it forever.
I mean, my advice is if you are, like, an artist or a creator or writer, have some place online to put that stuff where you can direct women to. Yeah. Because, like, I am very into that about guys. Like, if I see
Yeah.
that they have, like, any creative ambitions or any, like, ideas or writing, like, I'm gonna be drawn to that because it's kind of like a romanticized idea. And, like, I know lots of other girls are too.
Yeah.
And, like, even if you're...
What's hotter about... Because, okay, what makes human beings happy and able to be good is their sense of purpose. You could be somebody who is ostensibly useless, but if you have something you're passionate about, it appears that you have a sense of purpose and something you care about working towards. And even people who are not really any good at all, or even really taking it that seriously, just by describing the fact that they're passionate about it will be enough for a lot of people.
No, I mean, okay, so my last relationship, he was like an aspiring writer, and he had like a blog and the story that he had been working on since high school, and I was like really into this idea that he had all this creative ambition, and I just wanted to, I wanted to be a fan of somebody, and like I think a lot of people feel that way too, but like the more and more I realized that he didn't really care about that or believed in himself, and like the more I realized that like, oh well, this is like, this page hasn't been updated in years and it's not going that way. It's just kind of like, well, I fell in love with the idea of it. Right. But, like, if you have, don't just let your ideas die. Do something with it, because you never know, like, who you could be connecting with. Like, Conrad, when he sees me drawing and sees my art and stuff, he, like, always gets more out of it than I would expect anybody to.
Yeah.
And there's lots of people
because you don't care. You just do it, and you just think, like, I'm just doodling. And I'm like, look at this. All right. So on this picture... They're not good. I'll have to hold on.
That's not a drawing. I can bring my actual notepad in if you want.
This is good enough.
Okay.
That's the point. I had to scream so that they could hear me in the mic. So in this drawing, you see here her hand, right? Now initially, this was just a line going in to the hip. And then she was like, should I add anything extra? And I was like, you could put like some more hearts, you could put a ring, right? So she was like, I'm going to add the ring onto my hand. So she just draws one line coming out to be the hand, and then a little triangle on top to be the ring. And it kind of looked right, but then she was like, this isn't quite clear. So she just drew 4 lines coming out of it. I would have had no concept of how to add a ring onto the existing image. And you just went, tip, tip, tip. And it was like, oh, yeah, that's clearly the ring. Add it on. That is a talent that you can't appreciate because you just thought, oh, well, this is obvious. And I look at it and I go, how'd you do that? How'd you make her have a ring on with 3 lines? So this is what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Don't doubt yourself.
Yeah, if you make stuff, like, don't be afraid to let people see that more intimate side of you, because that's what they're going to be attracted to and connect with. And see, like, see what makes you special. Yeah, with art especially, like, your personality and your particular perspective towards life is going to really shine that way. And, like, if you're a shy person, that can speak and make somebody attracted to you or make them understand or be more curious about what you're really like. And you shouldn't, you should use that to your advantage.
That's why I'm gay for Zen Huxtable.
Right?
Because that man exuberates confidence. Like, look at that drawing. Like, he draws stuff in just, like, the most sketchy, unkempt, like, like, it's all just the emotion, and he knows that's good enough because he's so confident that that is what matters. Like, everybody says it. Like, I say all the time, oh, quality doesn't matter. It's all about the idea, the ingenuity. But even still, I find myself, like, tweaking things to try to reach some kind of weird invisible standard in my own mind. Zen has excised that drive and just creates pure imagination with total confidence, and I love all of it.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, that just sprung into my mind because I was thinking about your facial expressions and how they had so much personality with so little detail, and it reminded me of Zen because his are also like that. Anyway,
I mean, that's like what cartooning is.
Yeah.
Like, anybody who would consider their art style to be, like, cartooning or, not animation, but, like, more of, like, I guess cartoon is the only way I can explain it, but it's the simplification of an emotion or an idea down to the bare bones, but that is able to be understood by people. Mm-hmm. And I think that that is very specific to more simpler art styles that, you know, you can be like a professional painter and still not have that quality towards your work.
I'm trying to work my way back to what I had been going to say about finding a girl who is like you. It was like just saying that, like, I never would have expected that I could find someone who was so similar to me.
Same. I remember stumbling upon one of your videos at night in my dorm. My roommate had gone back home for the weekend. I was wearing a robe. I think I may have just only been wearing panties. I was drinking whatever was in my mini fridge at the time. And then I looked, and you were also in a robe, drinking a box of wine, talking about anime. I know
exactly how this had to have happened, because it would have been, you would have gone to Digibro After Dark, and the video that auto plays is Insomnia Analysis. So it would have been me coming into the room in a bathrobe, holding a beer, dancing to A$AP Ferg, Fergsomnia, and, like, because I do the whole, like, you know, like, dancing and drinking, and, like, you know, I'm sure you saw that, and you were just like, it's just like me.
Yeah, and that's, like, you know, that's how it starts.
Yeah, and, like, it was just, like, the fact that in our communications, like, just the way you presented yourself, the stuff you were drinking or the stuff you were doing was all stuff that I was like, yeah, I would like to do that with you. You know, that's a thing I would like to be doing. I feel like that's what I was getting at here. I don't know. We ended up diverting really far from what I was originally trying to say.
We were talking about cons. We were talking about...
Yeah, well, because I was trying to give, like, advice, but that wasn't, like, my point. I just split off to do that, to give advice on, like, the fact that
we were talking about the leaping lizard.
That was a while back.
Yeah, and your mom's cooking, and then what was after that?
Oh, God. It had to do with you. It had to do with finding someone who's like you, and just, like, that... just that, like, I mean, the point I was kind of trying to make was that, like, it's not going to be signposted, and you can't make the assumption that nobody's like you at all, because, like...
Because that's bullshit.
And, yeah, I mean, who the fuck are you? How could you possibly be so unique, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, you just... I think most people give up at some point along the way in every endeavor and in every way. And, like, my mindset, because of the fact that the specific mentality I developed when I was 16 was, like, if it's not exactly what I want, it's not worth it. You know, like, if I can't live the life I want to live, then it's not worth living. And I've never been willing to stop the buck anywhere. And, like, most people will maybe, like, get into a relationship with somebody who's kind of, like, good for them, and then they convince themselves that's the best they can do, or, like, that's the best that exists, and then they cycle through maybe 5 or 6 of those, and nothing's ever worked out, and it's like, oh, there's just no one out there for me. And it's like, well, first of all, you have to have a better culling process right from the start. Like, if I had dated every girl who ever reached out to me online, like, I would have dated a lot of girls who had nothing to do with me, you know, and who, like, yes, there's certain things in common, and yes, there's, like, we could have had sex, and maybe I would have gotten something out of it, maybe I would have learned to care about them, but it's not the same thing as having an actual, like, functional relationship. And, like, I really don't believe in trying to keep something going when it's not working, you know? Like, yeah. I think a lot of people try to stick it out, or they try to make it work, and it's like, dude, you will have better odds cutting your losses and trying to find something that actually works inherently. Yeah. You know, you and I have never had to make a sweeping change to ourselves in order to work together, you know?
No, definitely not.
And, like, that was how it was. Like, my last relationship, like, even though there was a lot in common, there was enough not in common that it was like both having to turn a blind eye to a lot of things and pretend they didn't matter, as well as trying to just alter little things about myself.
Yeah.
And like,
or even just like compatibility issues that like there's nothing that you can really personally do to change about it. It's just like, well, like, do I let this slide or do I want to, you know, this isn't really what I want to settle for, is it?
I was always letting shit slide, and just because I thought, well, I've never had a relationship, and like, you know, what are the odds I'll find another one? And it's like, well, the odds are pretty fucking high. There's a lot of people out there. You literally aren't even trying. You have made no effort, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you can't... If you make an effort for 10 years and you never find anything, then I will concede you're allowed to be sad about it. But, like...
I don't know. You still have work to improve.
This isn't any endeavor, by the way.
And 10 years?
You have 10 years
for making social connections, because you have to live on this earth as long as you are alive.
Yeah.
10 years? When I was 10, I still wasn't fucking doing it right, you know? Right. When I was 20, I still wasn't doing it right. If it's still not working, just keep trying, because you can't give up.
10 years of sincere, constant effort. Like,
towards what?
Anything. Like, after my last relationship, I, for 3 years, made no effort towards another one. Because I thought, like, I know it could happen if I put in effort, but I didn't want to put in effort. So I felt I have no right to complain. So I did not. But, like, it was like, I know I want a relationship, but as long as I'm not putting in effort, I can't go around saying, oh, I can't find anyone. It's like, no, you haven't looked. It's just that no one has stumbled into your lap yet, which eventually did happen. But, like, I think that if you were out there literally, like, giving it your all, studying, you know, doing the research on how to meet people, getting out there, like, putting in the effort,
which
really
I would
trying,
100% say that I was doing.
For 10 years?
Not for 10 years, but for at least 4.
Well, then you succeeded.
Well, I succeeded as far as I found what made me happy, even if it didn't meet like what most people would say would make them happy. Yeah. Like, I studied communications, I went out, met people, constantly tried to put myself out there, but I never really, like, do I think that I came out, like, better for it? I don't know. I think I learned a lot of things, but, like, do you think it's worth it to put in more years of that same effort when... I don't know. Because, like, I'm somebody who really fucking tried. I'm not sure we're
talking about the same thing at all.
We're talking about meeting somebody, like a partner. But I'm just talking about, like, social relationships in general, because I'd say that I'm somebody who's not, like, socially fulfilled, but, like, is not somebody who's given up entirely, but not working at it with my
I would not say you've been making a sincere effort in the 2 years we've been together to make social connections.
I don't know. I'd say that it's difficult to... Especially in Boston, it was difficult to do that. I've made social connections with people. I've gone out and met people. I've done social things with people. It's just none of it has really worked out right. But I wouldn't say I gave up, but, like, I don't even know what we're talking about, really.
I don't think you do.
No, I think I just, like, found a place, like, oh, you're talking about studying social life and stuff, and, like, I fucking did that, and I'm still an autist.
That's not what I'm talking about.
No,
I'm not talking about fixing your autism. I'm saying if you don't have a girlfriend and you think you can't find a girl who will be the perfect girl for you, and you haven't put 3 hours of work into it every day for 10 years, you're not done trying. That's my point.
Yeah, no, I would say that's fair.
That's what I was trying to say.
But, like, even after, like, 3 or 4 years, you're gonna be like, oh, well, is it really worth putting this much effort into? And
10 years.
I'd say, like, maybe reconsider how much effort you're putting towards it, and, like, your approach, maybe reconsider it.
The fact of the matter is that if you haven't done it in 3 or 4 years, you're probably not putting in as much effort as I'm calling for right now. Like, everybody likes to say they're putting effort in, but if you're not doing hours a day, you're not putting in sincere effort
you say that
towards anything.
If you're not getting results, maybe it's a waste of effort, and you should
no, because you're never going to be happy without the results.
Focus on yourself. Like,
well, sure.
If you're somebody who's like sincerely depressed, and you think the core root of it is because you don't have a girlfriend,
you're working on the wrong thing.
And then you're putting hours and hours every single day into getting a girlfriend, but like.
Yeah.
At the end of like 4 years, maybe nobody you haven't
should be
had
working
any
on your depression, not getting with a girl. I mean, you shouldn't be trying to seek a relationship to cure depression. You should not be depressed when you get into the relationship because you're just going to be a fucking
I would say
drain.
that honestly, the best thing to do is not to force anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are things that you can do to try to better yourself and put yourself in social situations where, you know, you are meeting people and you are learning about what people do, what people like. But, like, you should just be yourself, because if you're just, like, pretending or putting in too much effort to reel in a mate, like, once you
I'm not talking about that kind of effort.
No, I know.
I'm talking about, like, if you are not literally just going to places where people are. Like, if you see that, let's say
But that's not how either of us were successful.
Doesn't matter.
I put myself in places where people were, and I would say that a lot of that was a waste of time.
Yeah, no, it was.
Like, if you wanted
most of it will be a waste of time.
Yeah, but there are smarter, like, I feel like you don't have to try that hard.
You don't have to.
And that you probably shouldn't.
Baby, this is like a rhetorical argument I'm making. My point is, if you are bitching and whining that you think that person doesn't exist, it's not true.
No, I think that's fair.
That is all the point I'm making is. There's no extension beyond that. I'm not telling people to go become a Don Juan and fucking learn how to the pickup artistry.
Yeah, but you're suggesting people spend 3 hours a day trying to attract a mate.
No, I'm not suggesting anybody does that. I'm saying if you haven't done that, you have no right to complain. It's a big difference.
They have a right to complain. It's just like you're complaining at a detriment of yourself.
I'm just saying that if you get yourself into a mindset of, I can't do X, but you haven't put... And again, I'm trying to extend this a lot beyond just picking up a mate.
I understand.
But like, let's say that you're saying, I want to be a writer. And then you go, I've been trying for 3 years, but just nothing I've done has come out that good. I would say, well, have you been writing for 3 hours every day for those 3 years? And if they still said yes, I'd say, well, do it for 2 more years. Yeah. And see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. Like, you can always be trying it longer and harder, and if you want results, you're gonna have to expect to put effort in. But like, I don't think grinding a skill is the same to finding happiness with another person.
No, it's not. But if you're not putting yourself in situations where it could happen, it's not like you can't say, oh, this person doesn't exist if you haven't even tried to find them.
Yes.
If you're if you're just sitting around going, oh, there's nobody who's like me, I know because people aren't like me. It's like, no, there's people like you. You just aren't looking where they are, And like, I had it easy because I went and just put all the information about me on the internet and then got famous. So like, that is one way that, like, it wasn't why I was doing it, but it is effort towards this end.
Yeah. I constantly put myself out there and tried to introduce myself to people who I thought were interesting and tried to be in places where I thought interesting people were. And that took tons of heartbreak. That took tons of rejection and tons of failure.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to take a lot of work on your part. It doesn't matter how attractive you are. It doesn't matter how rich you are. Like, finding the right person for you, if you want to find the right person and aren't just looking to settle, is gonna be hard work. And
think of the effort that you put into...
both have to be putting in work, like men and women. Especially women. Like, if you're a girl who's at home bitching about how all men treat you wrong, like, why are you looking after guys who are playing the game?
Yeah. Look for a guy who's not going to treat you.
You should look for guys for yourself, not because that's how you were told to look for them.
Yeah.
Like, just be yourself, be in places you think are interesting, approach people. Like, it's scary, but like you have to do it if you want to fucking meet people.
If I was going, like, let's say that I had ever decided, like, I am going to make maximum effort to get laid. What I would have done is gone to a convention and talked to girls. Like, I know it works. It's worked for a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
Who just, we all go to a con
Would
and they go...
Would you say that's the best advice if you're like a teenage guy looking for a girlfriend, looking to have sex?
If you're just looking to fuck... Like, because if you get into a relationship, it's going to be long distance unless you happen to live nearby.
Yeah, I think
if it's a local con, it might work, but there's a much smaller pool of people.
I do think that like what your end goal is extremely important and should
it also depends
decide
on
what
who
you're
willing to fuck.
Yeah.
Because if you're just looking, like, here's another thing. You'll always find someone who wants to fuck you if you lower your standards.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Bottom line, if you lower your standards, you will find someone who will fuck you.
You just have to be in a place where those people are, and like conventions or parties are like
lots of guys talk about how they can't get laid, but they only want to fuck a hot girl. It's like, dude, you can get laid.
Yeah.
Ugly girls are
and
desperate.
again, being good at sex requires
just
grinding.
Like you are.
You're not gonna what?
No, ugly girls are desperate just like you are, is what I was saying. Like the guys.
Yeah.
If you are a desperate guy, fuck a desperate girl. You know?
Yeah. If you want to continue that that sad existence, go ahead.
There's nothing sad about it. You both want sex.
No, I know. I would say that
just stop thinking that you have to fuck the hottest girl. It's like, it doesn't have to be that way. Just fuck a girl who wants to fuck you.
Yeah, just
it will be fun.
You gotta be in the right place. If you're looking for a partner, though, I'd say like maybe try clubs.
You want to be attracted to them, but like I think a lot of guys are attracted to girls who are below the standard. It always stops at the exact same time as the screen does.
I see. That's interesting.
Because they're both on 30-minute timers.
I see.
I just think that there are a lot of guys who are like for me, for instance, like the minimum amount of attractiveness of a girl that I would have sex with is not ever what I'm hoping for, you know? But it's like, I think a lot of guys get it in their head that they're like, oh, I have to fuck a girl who's a certain level of hot or else it's not worth it, or it's not worth bragging about or whatever. Like it has to be like, you know, the fairy tale image in their head. But it's like, if there's a girl you're attracted to who wants to have sex with you, then have sex with that girl, because you will then have had sex and it will have been sick and ill and you will be like, dank. Just beggars can't be choosers. In this life, middle fingers up, I don't fuck with a 95. I keep it true to me, why the fuck would I live a lie? I'm living in this world, would you care if I live or die? If you're down, then would you ride for me? Because this life is so fucked up, they telling lies to me. You are my main, and as my main, you better not lie to me. And I will tell you like Gemini's, there might be sides to me. She not my main, bitch, I'ma tell you she's a side to me.
Alright, I heard you talking about fucking ugly bitches. And I also think that girls should lower their standards too.
Yeah.
If you're not having a good time chasing after the hottest guy, then maybe you'd have better happiness going after guys who are 7s. Like, looks aren't that important.
4s.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot of girls that I know that would not even touch a guy that they wouldn't consider to be quote unquote hot.
That's the thing. People lie to themselves about what they're attracted to. And I know, because I do it too. There are girls who are over an amount of weight that I would say I found attractive, who I would fuck. You know? Like...
Yeah.
And I can admit it to myself, but I probably wouldn't say to somebody else, oh, I think that girl's hot. Even though they wouldn't care. I
personally don't have that problem.
Yeah.
But,
Obviously.
No, I'm just kidding. Like, you're the most attractive guy I've ever dated.
Amazing. Amazing.
I don't consider myself somebody who values the look of my partner because I am not somebody who feels like I want to be around people who care about how I look that much. Mm-hmm. Like, the one thing I've always kind of beat myself up for was how much I cared about my appearance when I was like a teenager and stuff, I would have to make sure I was wearing like a full face of makeup.
It's time for
before I went out.
Vibes.
And the
Funny
older
Buddha.
I've gotten, the more I'm like, well, if I'm working out and I feel good about how I look, like, I don't need to spend 20 minutes a day getting ready because, like, it doesn't make my life better. Yeah.
I only drank one beer this
That's
whole
why
time.
I've had to pee twice.
I was wondering. I was like, damn, you broke the seal or something.
Yeah, I definitely did. Yeah, my advice for guys too is to be, you know, be a little bit more assertive. Put yourself in positions where you're gonna meet girls, even if they may seem like intimidating. If you're a guy and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go to parties and meet girls, don't go to fucking sausage fests. Go to places where girls are gonna be.
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of guys like who are in frats and stuff who didn't get laid that much, but they only would go to like
frat parties,
like a frat party with their bros, and it's like, well, there's two girls and one of them is me, and I'm just leading you all on for attention.
Yeah.
So like, why do you do this every single weekend? Like, what do you get out of just being drunk with a bunch of dude bros and having disgusting parties at your house?
They get nothing out of it. They just think it's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I think the amount of what people do because they think they're supposed to is staggering. Oh, this is why I was talking about all this. I remembered finally where I was trying to go. This all ties into the Ruth's Chris thing.
Okay.
So, where I was trying to go with this is, and because I was trying to explain why I didn't care that we weren't going to Ruth's
right.
Chris.
Okay.
And the reason is that, because I had the mindset that there's not going to be a girl who's just like me, I always had the assumption that I was going to have to, like, basically be more of a normie to my girlfriend. And that was how I treated my previous relationship. Like, she wanted me to wear pants when we went out. I had no problem with this because in my mind it was like, yeah, well, you have to have trade-offs. Like, of course, like, no woman on earth would go out with me wearing pajama pants. I just thought that would be impossible. That doesn't exist, you know? But then I get with you and you're like, I think you look badass in those pajama pants. Because you aren't thinking about it in terms of what do people think is normal. You're thinking about it in terms of how does it actually look? And it looks good. Because I have style.
Yeah, you have some kind of style. And I think you sometimes look like weird in pants.
And the fact of the matter is that normal people, they resonate with confident style. Like, people like to see a guy wearing something weird if he's pulling it off.
That's why people compliment you.
Right.
That's why you get fucking tons of compliment on your pants. People fucking
love my Ninja Turtles pants or my Dr. Pepper pants.
Your money pants that I bought you.
My money pants. Like, every time I wear those, people are like, oh, those are awesome. Like, you know, because they can't, like, they see it and, like, they're like, wow, I can't believe somebody would wear that. I wish I had the balls to do that. Like, look at how much fucking confidence this guy has to walk around in these pants, you know? Like, that's how normal people think. Yeah, and I'm with a hot chick. Like, well, that was the thing for me is that, like, if I'm with you, nothing else matters. It's like, there's nothing you can say to me or think about me that will diminish the fact that I'm out here with a hot chick, you know? But, like, I just always had it in my mind that, like, that, you know, women, like, all women are gonna have at least a few things, right? Like, no woman is gonna be okay with me wearing pajamas when we go out. No woman is gonna be okay with going to a inexpensive place on an anniversary or, you know, not getting this or that. And, like, it's not that there's nothing, because, like, there are some women's stereotypes you fit.
No, I'm not, like, completely low maintenance. I just, like...
No. You want a wedding with your whole family there.
Yeah, I care about that. And like
a diamond engagement ring. So there's some like womanly things.
There's definitely things that like I have expectations for, but like I'm willing to have a conversation about them.
Yeah.
With you, and like I'm not sold to the idea of like getting married in a church.
Right.
Like, which is something that I grew up with. Not necessarily that being an expectation, but just being like, well, this is what a wedding is. This is what
Yeah.
happens in your family. Like, this is just what it is. That's what my idea of a wedding is. So, like, I'm not married to the idea of getting married in a church.
You know, it's funny.
You
I
know?
think the reason that marriage in a church is so unappealing to me is that the only marriage that I've been to 2 marriages ever. One was in a church and one was at a barn. And the one that was in a church, it was, I think, my first time ever being in a church. And it was, but it's like, church is not what you think when you think of like a TV church. Like, it wasn't in a cathedral. There wasn't stained glass. There wasn't, like, you know, a raised platform and rows of pews. It was like a modern church. It was like, you walk in and it's just like a small room with a bunch of pews and like a projector screen playing clips of their marriage.
I'm
and I was
Catholic,
like,
so all the churches are usually cathedrals with stained glass. I mean, the typical idea in TV of like churches are usually like old school Catholic churches, which I think are completely beautiful.
Yeah, they're
awesome.
Awesome.
Beautiful scenario. Like, that's kind of why I'm attracted to the image of church, and like I grew up going to church and stuff, but I'm not like confirmed. So like getting married in the Catholic Church would be a pain in the ass for something I don't care about.
Right.
Because I would have to get confirmed. You would have to be baptized, confirmed.
Oh, you have to be baptized?
You have to have all your sacraments.
Oh, well, we can't get married in a church.
My dad had to get fucking baptized. I think my dad had to get baptized for his wedding or something, or something like that, where his mom was pissed off. But like, it is work that would have to.
You want to talk about having a mom who's pissed off? If you made me get baptized to get married in a church, my mom would never forget
your
that.
dick would have to be snipped. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm not okay with that. So you know, I'm not religious, so like, it doesn't really matter to me if I get married in church.
My dick wouldn't actually have to be snipped. Were you just? I was just joking. Right? Okay.
What the fuck?
Then you said I would not be okay with that, and I was like, wait.
No, I wouldn't be okay with that, but like, would that be something that was required of you? I'm 100% sure not so, but like, it would be something that people would encourage you to do, probably.
That's ridiculous.
But I mean, if you were Jewish, definitely, I think.
I
think that's like a Jew thing.
I mean, circumcision, yes, but like, it's also
I mean, it's
everybody
thing. It's a very Americanized, very like. It's fucking weird. It's really weird how like you hear stories about women who are like being pressured to get their kids to be circumcised because they want the fucking foreskins. That's weird.
They want them so they can inject them into fucking what's her name's face? Who was it?
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock's. Sandra fucking bollocks with bollocks in her fucking face. Actually. But yeah, well, where I was going with all that is just that because of the fact that like. I just always have had it in my head that, like, yeah, when you do an anniversary, you gotta go to a fancy place. Because it's something...
that's what you grew up with, right? I don't think my parents ever went to a fancy restaurant.
And it's funny, too, because my mom is very against most... Just like you, there's only a few things. Like, there's a few stereotypical girl things, but everything else is rejected. Where it's like, my mom... doesn't really care for jewelry my mom likes tacky, like, you know, skull jewelry that she gets at Hot Topic. Like, she doesn't like expensive, like, flashy jewelry.
When was the last time you saw me wear jewelry besides my engagement ring?
So my mom one time
I have like 2 necklaces.
One of the biggest fights my parents ever got into, or like biggest, like, you know, fjords that opened between them, was for one anniversary my dad bought my mom these, like, you know, hundreds of dollars, like, rose gold earrings. And, like, my mom hates the color gold. Like, she just doesn't care for gold. She's always been more of, like, a silver person. But she also just doesn't like expensive earrings. And, like, she doesn't like having a lot of money spent on her frivolously. So, like, for her, it was just, like, for you to buy me these earrings would suggest that you know literally nothing about me. Like, why would you buy these? And so she was, like, she was... really mad that he bought them for her, and then he was really mad that she didn't appreciate that he'd bought her
all that money on her.
You know, but it's like, it's like it all comes down to the person. Like, it's understandable that you would just make the assumption that you know, oh, women love to have expensive jewelry, but it's a stereotype, you know. And so, like, if you know your wife well enough, you shouldn't fall for the stereotype of just what women are into, you know? Now, in my case, it's not just that it's a stereotype that you go out somewhere fancy for an anniversary. My parents actually did that because my mom does like experiences. She doesn't like expensive things. She likes expensive experiences. She likes to go to a concert and spend a lot of money.
Yeah,
go to a
I would
restaurant.
say that I have a similar value alignment, which is why like when but like we talk about like spending a lot of money on vacation, it makes way more sense than spending it on a dinner.
Well, because like for me, it's like, well, all right, it's an anniversary. So surely she will want to do something that's like, a shakeup of some kind. And I want to eat at a fancy steakhouse just because it's a weird personal dream of mine. So we can combine these energies and make it happen. But like, I know you well enough at this point to know you really don't care about like, even like Valentine's Day. Like, it's fun to go eat on Valentine's Day, but you do not care about getting an expensive dinner on Valentine's Day. You're just like, whatever, we don't even have to go out. I just want to get drunk and hang out, like you don't put a special value on these like certain dates as like something has to happen on this day. And neither do I. I just look at it as an excuse to do something. It's like, oh, well, it's Valentine's Day, so if we're going to do something that costs some, extra, we could do it today. And then you're kind of like, well, why would like we're supposed to be not doing things that cost extra? Why would this suddenly make it okay? Like why would we just suddenly think, oh yeah, we can justify spending $200 on a meal just because it's our anniversary? We don't need to be spending $200 on a meal, period. Like, and I think that's totally reasonable. And that's why what my ultimate conclusion I came away with was, I'm not making enough money to make you feel like Ruth's Chris is a joke. Because that's how I treat it. And when I said earlier that, like, you would be more uncomfortable going out and being, being out of place. For me, I draw a certain energy from feeling like I am punking the system by being somewhere. Like, I love the thought of going to some place that I don't look like I can afford to be and then dropping the most money in the place. Like, just to say fuck you to everyone. Like, oh, you all came here because you're self-serious and you worked your way up to this place and you really care. You really care about this. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to make it look stupid. And that is what I'm going to draw the energy from. Is that I could do this without ever having to care, without having to work my way up the ranks, without having to do any of the bullshit. I just make dumb YouTube videos about my personal life, wear pajama pants, and get to do whatever I want and throw Fliff around like a sultan. I really
respect that you can get power from that, because like I think all I would get from that, sincerely, is like a weird manic energy.
But it depends. Because I wouldn't feel that way if I didn't really earn it. And that's the difference. Is that if we went there now, it would be like, we're spending a lot of money.
This is like, it's a special occasion, so it's not that big of a deal. Whatever. Right. But like, if you were Mr. Beast, it'd be like...
Yeah, if it was Mr. Beast, it would be hilarious.
Here's $1,000.
Because if I was Mr. Beast, we'd show up and we'd buy everyone's meal at Ruth's Chris. And it would be fucking hilarious. By the way, Mr. Beast, here's a video idea. Walk into a fancy steakhouse and pay for everyone's meal. I want to see how rich people react to it, as opposed to just poor people. But like, yeah, like it would be different if I was making, say, even just 3 times what I'm making right now. $200 on dinner would be comfortable. It wouldn't be anything. It would be like, oh, $200 on dinner? Pff, sure. Yeah, let's fuck up Ruth's Chris tonight and get shit-faced on expensive wine because that sounds funny. But it doesn't sound funny when I say, let's go spend $200 on dinner because I am in debt, But if I wasn't in debt and I had a fuckload of extra spending money, it would be a meme in your mind because you would have gotten used to a lifestyle of me throwing Fliff around for no fucking reason. So, like, I basically came away from it like, I haven't earned this yet.
I don't think there's any amount of money you'd be making where I thought $200 would be a joke.
I think there is.
I don't think so. I think, like...
We used to spend a lot more money, and you used to be a lot more gung-ho about me spending my money when you thought I had a lot of money.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
You would spend...
You used to get excited to be like, oh, let's get this. And I'd be like, that's $15, and it could be $5 somewhere else. And you're like, yeah? And it's like, all right, you know.
Name one. Name one time that happened.
I feel like there was a lot of times, even recently.
No, I know. It's just really funny.
Like, sometimes,
because, okay.
Sometimes you decide that I have a lot I don't have a lot of money.
A spoiled brat.
Yeah.
I grew up a spoiled brat. I'm
because
just
your dad likes to fliff like a fucking sultan.
Yeah,
like,
so like...
regardless of how much money he actually has or how big of a dent it is,
that's
to
every
him,
man.
The excitement is in throwing the money around.
That's every man. That's Nate. That's you. That's your dad. That's my dad. That's my dad's dad. That's God's dad. That's the president of the U.S. That's the drug dealer.
The president of the U.S.
So we live in a society of fliff.
Yes. Well, in me and Nate's
Fliff
case,
Nation.
it's because we watched Fliff Night too many times. And literally the whole time we were going, Fliff, not even counting it.
Yeah.
So.
And you'll go to a restaurant and you won't even look at the bill. You'll just put your card in there. And it's like, does this give you a boner, or are you just too lazy to open the bill?
No, the reason is I don't want them to walk away.
No, I know. There's a completely logical reason. Much.
If you, as soon as you open the book, they start walking away.
Yeah.
Because it's supposedly impolite to stand over you while you're looking at the cost.
It's
but, like,
impolite to stand over you while you're tipping. That's the only time it's impolite.
Yeah, but usually they don't stand around while you look at the bill because they want to give you time to examine it and not feel pressured. But I'm just like, if you walk away and I have to sit here for 5 fucking minutes, I will tip you less.
It's like I want you to get me out of the restaurant.
Every minute I sit in this restaurant that I didn't need to be here makes your tip go down by at least a cent. You know, like
it's just
fucking can't stand.
It's a really interesting kind of way, because a lot of people, like, I know a lot of people who will scrutinize the bill and be like, oh,
my grandma will literally hold it up to the light.
They double charge me because they, like, I'm not gonna lie, I've been to restaurants a ton of times where they'll fucking double charge you for a drink, or charge you more than what the actual like menu has said. It happens quite frequently, so I don't think it's unreasonable to do that. And there's also people who are like, oh, should I put this on my credit card, my boyfriend's credit card, my ex-boyfriend's credit card, or my debit card? Or should I use a combination of all three? That happens too. I like to stare at the bill and, oh Jesus, $50. I could have bought like 20 iced coffees with that. Whatever.
50. It was $100.
No, I know. I wouldn't buy an $100 meal at this point in time, but I have before.
Are you glad you got to eat that $100 meal?
No, I did. I'm very happy that we decided to go to that restaurant, and I'm glad we had, an adventure.
Yes.
Because, like, it's kind of a meme that, like, the whole arguing about what to eat, I think, is funny.
Oh, it's been about 30% of my whole life. Because my family used to argue for hours out of every day, and I'm not even exaggerating. Like, on the average day, we would argue for 30 minutes to an hour about what we were going to eat.
I think that's a very normal experience for a lot of families and a lot of couples.
And most of it was my fault. Because I'm the difficult one.
Yeah, I mean, me too, though. Because sometimes I really just want fucking chicken strips.
That was until I started making enough money.
Why are you suggesting me go to places that don't have chicken strips?
Participating. Because, like, it was, like, well beyond a point where I could have just been getting my own food, but because I was included in the dinner conversation, I was still making it difficult. And then at some point I went, you know what? I don't have to have this conversation anymore. Just never think of me when you make dinner. Just don't think of my existence, please.
Are you talking when you go out to dinner, or just, like, deciding what to make?
At all. Any form.
Because you're not somebody who's that picky. Like, I'll make you
I'm picky when it's my mom, because there's like 3 things that she could make well, you know.
Do you think as we get older you're gonna become like less into the experiments that I make in the kitchen?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I mean, I'm like the opposite of my dad in this regard. My dad is somebody who wants things to be as streamlined and uncomplicated and I don't have to think as possible. So if he doesn't like something one time, he kicks it off the menu. And it's like, just make me quesadillas every day. In my mind, it's like, I want it to be something different every single time.
Yeah, and
like,
if it sucks, we can go to McDonald's.
Yeah, if it's a
really
dramatic
that bad,
failure, we could just
or you could eat top ramen.
And you know, anything that is really good can stay in rotation, but anything that's not good, just kick it off the rotation. But like, there's a ton of shit that's good, you know. So like, generally, I think most of the stuff you make, I'm like, well, I would definitely be willing to eat this again, but like, I also want to try something new.
Yeah, and you know. There's also, like, the kind of weakness of I just, like, try to make so many things that I don't remember what is even on.
Yeah, it's hard to remember. Like, there's certain stuff that it's like, man, I know we've had, like, a bunch of really great meals, but I can't remember what they are.
Yeah.
I do like all those, like, interesting combinations of, like, rice and pineapple and jalapenos and shrimp and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, just, like, stir fries and stuff.
Well, was that a stir fry, the shrimp thing we had the other day?
That was like more of like a shrimp and pineapple salsa on a rice.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was pretty good. I like shrimp a lot.
Shrimp? I mean, your fucking shrimp linguine is like...
Oh yeah, I should make that again. That's pretty good. But yeah, we talk about food a lot.
Is that it for this Comfycast? It's been like 3 hours.
How much money you got?
A lot.
How much food you got?
A lot. Do you think this was comfy?
I think it was pretty comfy. I'm comfy.
I've gotten a lot of people have told me that the us arguing over whether or not Finish or Fail should go on the main channel was like one of their favorite videos. Because like the energy of you and I like actually having an argument is like, it's really fun. Because like ordinarily,
I agree. That's why I argue with you.
Because like the thing is, when we talk about anime, like most of our videos have been us talking about anime, and we feel exactly the fucking same about anime. Like we almost always like the same stuff, have the same thoughts, and people will say things like, May just says whatever Digi says. No, we just literally think the same things about anime. Yeah, but I mean,
there's sometimes we disagree with shows. Like it's happened.
It's very rare. It's happened like 3 times.
But I mean, it still happens, and like, it's just there isn't that much good shit. Like a lot of Finish or Fail is just watching unwatchable, generic, mass-produced bullcrap. Just like
when we like something, we both like it for pretty much the same reason, and when we hate it for pretty much the same reason, and so we just kind of both go, yeah, it sucked, and then we lift off the reasons between us. Whoever can come up with them faster, basically. But like when we disagree, it's much more of like an active, you know, conversation, because it's like we're actually debating, and there's you know, there's more.
You know, I think it'd be more fun to be in positions where we disagree with certain shows.
Yeah. Not just about. I mean, this is a perfect podcast example. Like we've done it. We've made number 2.
Yeah.
We've made the second you and I arguing.
We
episode.
argue more than I think we'd even really understand. Because we don't take it too seriously. Yeah. We don't take the arguments personal. It's like, hey, like, this is how I feel, and this is how I feel, and then we just like kind of build off of that, and it's fun to argue.
I think the only times that we get upset is when we don't understand each other, or when we feel like the other person doesn't understand us. Like,
yes,
there are times where we'll be talking, and it's like it seems like neither one of us is quite getting it, and then like I'll have to think about it for a while, and I'll go, oh, this must be what she was thinking about, and like I was just on a totally different page, and then like usually we try to return to it, like,
and that's a weakness on me for being unable to explain my perspective
when me too.
Yeah, but like I usually understand how, like, I feel like a lot of times it's just me not formulating my argument well enough or having an emotional reaction to something. And like
I think we're both equally at fault. I have a lot of times where I start talking and I don't really think about how much my unique mindset contributes to it, and how like when we were talking about weddings the other day, it was like we just had very different understandings of what people perceive a wedding as. And as the conversation went on, I realized that I was the weird one. That like I had to look inside myself and go, why do I feel this way about this? And then I went, oh, okay, it's because I'm like this, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, I also could come to similar conclusions. Like, oh, I've only ever been to one wedding when I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
What do I really know about people getting married besides people in my social media feeds like getting pumped for their wedding and saying like hashtag 100 days until we're getting married, and like just stuff like that, stuff that I couldn't really buy into and think is kind of like, I mean, this is self-important bullshit.
What I kind of came to the conclusion of, though, that of why it was so different is that you have lived in a place more consistently, and like you, even if you haven't gone to weddings, you know people who go to each other's weddings. Like your parents have probably gone to the weddings of most of the people in their families.
Oh yeah,
or friends
my
and like people around town.
Go to weddings like frequently because I have a huge fucking family.
I don't know anybody who's like been to a wedding.
I have a huge family, and like those are people who I can count on to want to go to my wedding, even if they have to travel a little bit of distance. Right. Like, so
that was the nature of our disagreement, was like I was trying to say that I don't think a lot of people would travel to go to a wedding, and you were like, I think at least 100 people would come to Virginia Beach for a wedding, and I was like, 100 people? Like,
yeah, but I mean, I have like experiences with that many people traveling to be there for somebody's occasion.
Right, and I don't. So it was like, that was the fundamental, but like we weren't arguing from a position of I've had this experience and I've had this experience is normal.
Yes. But like neither of us are really experienced. So right. It's always like interesting to kind of talk about, because we do want to eventually like, you know, get this all figured out and do it. But we're both clueless, and we're both far away from people who are really able to help us, and like everybody in our families, like in our generations, seem to be kind of against it, or like have different ideas. Like your brother thinks weddings are like bullshit.
Oh yeah, not against our wedding, but against
just like I like in general. Yeah. So it's not like, you know,
Vic and Hope seem like they just don't even believe in the concept of marriage or having kids. Well, I think they want to get married eventually, but they definitely don't want to have kids.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have a traditional... And they definitely don't want
to have a crazy wedding. They want to have it in like a fucking, like some kind of weird backwoods location with nobody there.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like whatever it's like, it's up to the couple. Like you want to have the best experience for you, but I would like to have family there for me, because that's what it means to me to get married, is like to join two families together.
And I just think it's the only way that is like fair to the family. It's like your family wants to see you get married.
Yeah.
If you care about your family, you'll give them that opportunity.
It's a family matter. Right. It really is. Like weddings, you know, are a huge part of Italian American culture. That's all I can say.
The only members of my family
and it's
who
hard to make people understand that if they don't understand.
Like my immediate family and my cousin Boyd, like I would want them to be at my wedding, but like anybody else, it's like whether or not they want to come is really on them. Like how much they care. Like, so a lot of them probably would come, or would make an effort, but like I am not like, you know, I'm not like worried about accommodating them to make sure they can make it, because I'm not close to them, you know. It's like my immediate family, my grandma, probably both my grandmas would definitely go, you know, and
I think you, like, even with a more limited like selection of people, you would probably take like 20 to 30 people with you.
It's possible.
And I definitely would probably have like 60 to 70 people come. Like, definitely. And then other people who I would hope would think it's worth it, but like, you know, it's not always easy to be able to leave to go to a destination wedding.
What we really need to do is put together our lists. We both need to just make a list of everybody who we think we would invite, and then just figure out how many of those people are willing to travel.
Yeah. Because, like, that would be a big fact. Like, if there's a lot of kids, like, you got to make sure it's outside of the school year, and
the main
whatever,
the main
yada,
consideration, like before we can figure out like what venue do we want, how much is it gonna cost, is just how many fucking people are gonna be there, you know?
Yeah.
And then everything else can kind of be figured out from that.
Yes. Because it's like if you have only so many people coming, your options for venues get wider, because you can fucking do it at cool places like the aquarium. I think it'd be really cool to get married in the aquarium.
Yeah, I think that's the top of the list of places we've known of so far.
Yeah. I think it's just because when I was a little kid, I saw that people could get married in an aquarium, and I'm like, that's fucking cool. You can get married behind sea turtles and sharks and stuff. Yeah. Like, that's pretty legit. And then you can eat fish in front of other fish. Think about that.
Exciting.
This is not exciting podcast material.
That's it. This is the end of the fucking return of the Comfycast.
It's back, bitches!
We will probably do it like this again, because this was comfy as fuck.
I had a great time.
This is the actual comfiest I've been doing a Comfycast. So,
we gotta get like a screen behind us and put like weird vaporwave.
Yeah.
Things.
I don't know if people... I feel like people were always memeing on the Comfycast for not actually being comfy to look at. And so, like, with this one, I went for, like, the comfiest possible
image. We had to get a giant fish tank and just sit in front of a fish tank.
That would be pretty fucking comfy. All right. Peace out.
Peace out.